was probably a
Go back a
teenager,
little bit because
and it
we're
was
speaking right now, Dan.
an example of a singer
Yeah.
shattering a wine glass by making.
And I will see
There you
you
go.
all next month.
Thank you, Dr. Meredith.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Do we have slides now?
Okay, we'll pause it. Can you tell everybody online?
Online, are you there?
Not
Hi,
anymore.
Okay, dear daughter. Okay, just.
Okay.
Yes, we're on.
Okay.
Okay, I can't, Diane. Why not?
High amplitude node, and that frequency would cause a vibration on the glass, which shattered it. As far back as the Romans, when a Roman army went across a stone bridge, these were just, stones placed in such a way that the stones held up the bridge. They would break rhythm. There's a cadence that when you're marching, and even in the Navy, the only time I ever really marched was when I was in basic training in the Navy. We had a parade ground, we had all that, and we had to go out and march. And of course, every sailor had to be coordinated with every other sailor so that you could see that when the sailor's right legs went forward, the entire troop's right legs went forward. And that's what we call cadence. But even then, we were always told that when you cross a bridge in the military, you break cadence, which means you just walk as you would normally walk, and therefore you would not see that beautiful coordination with all the legs moving at the same time together. And the reason for that is that the frequency could cause the bridge to fall down. Biological resonance occurs throughout nature. At the level of the atom, electrons whirl about the nucleus in certain energetically defined orbits. In order to move an electron from a lower to a higher orbit, a quantum or package of energy with very special frequency characteristics is required. An electron will only accept energy of the appropriate frequency to move from one level to another. If the electron falls from the higher orbit to the lower orbit, it will radiate energy of that very same frequency. This required atomic frequency is referred to as the resonant frequency. The principle is behind the imaging system of VOLEAS. I'm sorry, went the wrong way. From a bioenergetic standpoint, the human body, when weakened or shifted from equilibrium, oscillates at a different and less harmonious frequency than when healthy. This abnormal frequency reflects a general state of cellular energetic imbalance within the physical body when a weakened individual is unable to shift his or her energetic mode to the needed frequency, which allows their immune system to properly defend the body. A certain amount of subtle energetic help may be needed, which can be in the form of various remedies, including electrical magnetic frequency stimulation. A very ancient system of healing has been the use of magnets to heal pain and disease. In ancient China, patients would sit in magnetic or what are known as lodestones caves for several hours to be healed by the magnetic waves radiating from the natural magnetic lodestones. Magnet therapy was also used in other ancient cultures as well. The ancient religious scriptures of the Hindus, known as the Vedas, also believed to be 4,000 years old, mention the treatment of disease or instruments of stone, which were lodestones. Also in India, there was the belief that a dying person should be positioned in the bed with the head toward the north to induce magnetic harmony, earth and body. This would reduce pain and help the departing spirit. Ancient physicians achieved a variety of therapeutic effects to lodestones. And in fact, it is claimed that Queen Cleopatra of Egypt wore a small magnet as an amulet on her forehead to preserve her youth, perhaps to stimulate the pineal gland's production of melatonin, which has anti-aging properties. It certainly was in line with the pineal gland. And we know that the magnets can either tonify or sedate. Usually the North Pole sedates and the positive South Pole tonifies.
I think you move backward. Got to be got to be this one.
I already read that. Paracelsus used magnets to treat everything from diarrhea and epilepsy to various types of hemorrhage. Hahnemann, the father of modern day homeopathy, also used magnets to heal the sick. Today, magnetic therapy is well advanced in China, Japan, India, Australia, and Germany. And I would also add Russia to it. While many people use magnets in the USA for pain relief, most physicians, medical physicians, have been slow to recognize and embrace it, despite the fact that the federal government has spent over $1 million researching it and verified its ability to relieve pain and often other factors. A static ceramic magnet with a gauge of at least 3,000 is considered ideal. On one side is the negative or North Pole, and the other is the positive South Pole. The magnet should be about 1.5 inches thick, 6 inches long, and 4 inches wide. North Pole is always or should be negative, and the South Pole is always positive if it's correctly marked. Pain is always treated with the negative pole, never the south. The treatment is at least 1 hour long. Never use the South Pole for pain since it can increase the pain, which makes no sense at all. The South Pole is positive and is used for atrophy and weakness. When applying it to a weak muscle that has already had atrophy, be sure to know that the area being treated does not have a cancer or an infection or an area of bleeding, since the positive pole can increase those conditions. In other words, the positive pole, which is on one side of the magnet, can actually increase cancer. And if the person has an infection, it will make the germs stronger. And if they're bleeding, they'll bleed more. On the north side, all those things are treated with the North Pole. The North Pole. Don't just get any kind of magnet. Get a medical magnet because the medical magnets are marked very carefully as to which is the North Pole and which is the South Pole. The North negative pole can treat infections, pain, itching, swellings, bleeding, growths, cancer, tachycardia. The North Pole is placed over the heart, and within an hour, the heart rate will drop 10 beats a minute. Acupuncture, auricular, marma, India, and Vol points can all have small magnets placed over the points to provide magnetic energy into the channels or meridians. Depending on the symptoms, the polarity of the magnet can be changed. For an excess or pain, the negative magnet is used. And for a deficiency, a positive magnet can be applied to the point. Stay on the ear. Such magnets can be purchased from a TCM or acupuncture supply company. I know at one point, and I'm sure they probably continue to do this, Lhasa has magnets that can be purchased. And there's also a company in North South Carolina,
Oh, yeah, they call, Pro Magnet.
Pro Magnet. If you look up Pro Magnet, they have the exact magnet I'm talking about available. The one with 3,000 gauge, half an inch thick, 4 inches wide. What was that? Oh, these are placement areas
Yeah.
where people can put magnets.
That's it. It done or what? No?
Um,
Not done yet. Hold on, let me check. So what, where is the mouth? The mouth. Okay, you, make. Go to that have the picture, right?
Next one.
Okay, that's it. That is the last,
And that was the last slide.
yeah. One, give me, okay, this seemed to me like the last slide. That's it. Yeah, that's it. This is a slide 58. This
And that
area,
was the last slide.
yeah, the last slide. So that's it, magnetic. This is the place that they can put it, right?
So we have to go to another program?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take 5 minutes now.
Show them the magnet.
Do you have it?
Do you have it?
Oh, yeah, let me show the
Make
magnet.
sure don't.
I'm gonna show you the magnet that you can get from Pro Magnet.
Make sure
And
don't.
you gotta be very careful, they're ceramic. So if you were to drop it, it'll break into pieces. Can they see it?
No. Let me put here.
Now, I've been using magnets for years. In fact, Eli, who lives in Denver, my son, when he was a kid, and now he's the father of 2 boys, 2 of my grandchildren. When he was a very young kid, and I'd come home from the clinic, he'd yell to his brothers and sisters, "Hey, here comes the magnet man." Because he knew that I carried magnets and I did magnet treatments on myself. And I'm sure he thought it was all sort of strange. So the magnet, you can see, it's 4 inches long or wide, about 6 inches long. And I know you can't see the markings, but here's the north side. It's marked, engraved on the ceramic. And then if you turn it around, we have the south side. And so, the north kills pain, it fights infections. You have to be a little bit careful with the stomach area because the north could certainly help gastritis, but it also reduces, hydrochloric acid. And the gastritis might be caused because of a deficiency, and it often is, of hydrochloric acid. So you want to check the reflexes on the ribs up by the angle of Louis on the sternum, on the right side, patient's right side. You can pick out the digestive enzymes, and on the patient's left side, facing the patient, that would be your right side, but they're left, and pushing against the upper rib in that little notch where the sternum meets the rib. And if it's tender, that indicates they need hydrochloric acid. So you wouldn't want to put this on the stomach if they had gastritis caused by a deficiency. You would want them to take some hydrochloric acid and see if that reflex doesn't improve. But otherwise, I've had cancer patients who had prostate cancers who sat on it for a couple hours a day, fighting their cancer. It's very effective. It certainly doesn't cure all cancers. I don't want to mislead anybody there. It should be part of a natural cancer treatment program. ProMagnet is the company.
Okay, and change to a little bit with about the medicine way with the only Kathy there or what?
David's here.
Okay, I can make warm tea.
David, I think you might have it, but I don't have that email.
She doesn't have it.
Did you see, Amelia, did you see my email? The topic that say Dr. Solwan on Friday.
Yeah, I've got 4 attachments. One is the laser slide, conflict resolution, MARMA points, and bioenergetic and magnetic therapy.
Okay, so
we don't
you
have
mean-
this one that you're.
So you meet this one, right?
Yes.
Okay. As soon as he finish, I will forward it. Have you learned this before? Do you remember?
No, we have not gotten this one.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna look at epigenetics in the medicine way. Epigenetics, epi means on top of the gene. So it means that when you have what you know is a genetic disorder and it's active and it's causing a problem, you want to turn it off. Epi is on top of the gene, so it's outside of the gene in the sense that that's how we treat genetic problems. The determining causes of disease, remember, are psychological, physical, chemical, spiritual.
You want me to move the camera?
Yes,
Let me move
please.
this. Okay, let me move this.
And under physical, you'll notice that it says disease can be caused by a lack of exercise. It can be caused by trauma. It can be caused by ergonomics, poor posture, radiation, and certainly genetics. In fact, I could also add that it can be caused by extraterrestrial radiation. We know, for example, that the sun can give you sunburn. And not only that, but if you get sunburned when you're young, those cells have been damaged genetically, and you may end up with a couple of different types of skin cancer. We know that the moon, lunar gravitational effects affect the fluids in our body. And don't forget, we're about 70% fluid. And there's no reason why we would think only the ocean tides are affected. There's all sorts of studies that have been done that demonstrate the life of insects, plant life, worms, and all sorts of critters we wouldn't even relate to such influences that are affected by the moon. They have clocks turned on and turned off with lunar phases. And this is mainstream science. We're not talking about something that is weird. So we also know that the different planets affect the sun. So, and of course, light, when it's seen, is really part of electromagnetic spectrum, visual spectrum. There's two pathways of disease, two basic pathways of disease in the human body. The external pathways, such as infections, toxins, or poisons, diet, pollen exposure, wounds, climate, radiation, stress, and so on. And then there's the internal pathway, such as an internal malfunction of an organ, a blockage, and or a genetic defect inherited from an ancestor. Cells are the basic building blocks of all living things. The human body is composed of trillions of cells. About 200 different cells comprise the human body. They provide structure for the body. They take nutrients from food, convert those nutrients into energy, and carry out specialized functions. Cells also contain the body's specialized structures that perform certain tasks within the cell. Here's a picture of a cell, pretty crowded. And you should familiarize yourself with a cell. When I had to study biology in college, we had to study the cell. We had to list all the different component parts of the cell and what each component did, like the endothelium, the mitochondria, what does the lysosome do, and so on. So for more information on cells, you can go to the Genetic Science Learning Center at the University of Utah, which offers an interactive introduction to cells and their many functions. DNA is the hereditary material in humans and almost all other organisms. Nearly every cell in a person's body has the same DNA. Most DNA is located in the cell nucleus, where it is called nuclear DNA. But a small amount of DNA can also be found in the mitochondria, where it is called mitochondrial DNA, or small m, small t, DNA capitalized. And we call the mitochondria the powerhouse of the cell. Biologists believe that it's part of our evolutionary history. That 1 million years ago, a virus hooked up with our cells, and it made an arrangement, if I could speak in a metaphoric language. It made a bargain with the cell. It said, I'll make energy for you if you will also feed me. And we've been living with that mitochondria our lifetimes. The information in DNA is stored as a code made up of 4 chemical bases. And they're listed under 4 letters, A, G, C, and T. Human, and of course they have names like adenine, cytosine, thymine, and so on. About human DNA consists of about 3 billion bases, and more than 99% of these bases are the same in all people. The order or sequence of these bases determines the information available for building and maintaining an organism, similar to the way in which letters of the alphabet appear in a certain order to form words and sentences. Oops. So DNA is a double helix, a spiral. And I repeatedly throughout this program talk about spirals. The Milky Way is a spiral. Plants grow out of the ground in a spiral fashion. Auricular therapy, which is so fantastic in a fetus, when the human auricle is being developed, it comes out as a spiral. Here we see the base parts. And a sugar phosphate backbone. What is a gene? A gene is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. Genes, which are made up of DNA, act as instructions to make molecules called proteins. In humans, genes vary in size from a few hundred DNA bases to more than 2 million bases. The Human Genome Project has estimated that human beings have between 20,000 and 25,000 genes. Every person has 2 copies of each gene, one inherited from each person, or rather parent. Most genes are the same in all people, but a small number of genes, less than 1% of the total, are slightly different between people. These small differences contribute to each person's unique physical features. Can genes be turned on and off in the cells? The simple answer is yes. Each cell expresses or turns on only a fraction of its genes. The rest of the genes are repressed or turned off The process of turning on and off genes is known as gene regulation. Gene regulation is an important part of normal development. Science knows the importance of gene regulation for life, but the complex process is not yet fully understood. What is epigenome? DNA modifications that do not change the DNA sequence can affect gene activity. Chemical compounds that are added to a single gene can regulate their activity. These modifications are known as epigenetic changes. The epigenome comprises all the chemical compounds that have been added to the entirety of one's DNA genome as a way to regulate the activity or expression of all the genes within the genome. Now, I want to give you an example, and I believe we might touch on it again in our discussion here, but as we know, 80–90% of all lung cancers are caused by cigarette smoking or tobacco consumption. Yes, there is a small amount of people who get lung cancer and it's not related to smoking, unless it's indirect smoking, secondhand smoke, or even thirdhand smoke. Secondhand smoke is when a smoker is smoking in your presence, but you're not smoking. Thirdhand it's on the sheets and the carpets and on the furniture, on people's clothes. They're carrying around on their clothes a carcinogenic agent. Carcinogenic means it causes cancer. Well, it doesn't really cause cancer in the sense of necessarily causing cancer, although it can. It causes cancer in the sense of deregulation because it's an epigenetic process. It's on top of the gene. And if an individual has an oncogene for the lungs, which means the potential risk for cancer of the lungs, they don't just get cancer for the lungs necessarily. They may need that carcinogenic agent. So they smoke cigarettes and it turns off the regulation of the cells in the lungs, which means now you have cells in the lungs that may produce cancer, and normally our immune system attacks the cancer and destroys it. But because the cell regulation has been turned off, that cancer grows into a cancer. It starts out in one cell and continues to grow. If you turn back on the cellular regulation system, it tells the cancer to die, to commit apoptosis or suicide. Epi, therefore, means on top of. The chemical compounds of the epigenome are not part of the DNA, but are attached or on top of the DNA. Epigenetic modifications remain as cells divide, and in some cases can be inherited through the generations. Environmental influences such as the person's diet and exposure to pollutants such as tobacco smoke, which we've been talking about, can also impact the epigenome. Epigenetic changes can help determine whether genes are turned on or turned off. Because errors in the epigenetic process, such as modifying the wrong gene or failing to add a compound to a gene, can lead to abnormal gene activity or inactivity. They can cause genetic disorders. Conditions including cancers, metabolic disorders, and degenerative disorders have all been found to be related to epigenetic errors. For more information about the epigenome, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, offers a roadmap to epigenetics projects. And you can go there and visit that site. So here we have an example of a liver cancer. There are portions of the liver that are healthy, and there's cancer. Cancer results when cells accumulate genetic errors and multiply without control. What is a gene mutation? A gene mutation is a permanent change in the DNA sequence that makes up a gene. Mutations range in size from a single DNA building block or a DNA base to a large segment of a chromosome. Gene mutations occur in two ways. Mutations that are passed from parent to child, which is hereditary, or germline mutations because they present in the egg or sperm, or acquired during a person's lifetime. Egg or sperm cells are called germ cells. This type of mutation is present throughout a person's life in virtually every cell in the body. Mutations that occur only in a germ cell or those that occur just after fertilization are called new mutations, de novo mutations. De novo mutations may explain genetic disorders in which an affected child has a mutation in every cell, but has no family history of the disorder. Acquired mutations or somatic mutations occur in the DNA of individual cells at some time during a person's lifetime. These changes can be caused by environmental factors such as ultraviolet radiation from the sun. And actually, in that case, it's generally going to be a burning of the skin, or by tobacco smoke, which is inhaled into the lungs, or can occur if a mistake is made as DNA copies itself during cell division. Acquired mutations in somatic cells, cells other than the germ cells, cannot be passed on to the next generation. A person who gets cancer of the lungs might live with a child, but when they go smoke outside, and they don't expect the child, they don't expose the child to the tobacco smoke. That child then won't get second or third hand, although there's always the possibility of third hand smoke because it accumulates on the clothes of the individual smoking. How does gene mutation affect health? To function correctly, each cell depends on thousands of proteins to do their jobs in the right place at the right times. Sometimes gene mutations prevent one or more proteins from working properly. A mutation may cause a protein to malfunction or be missing completely. A gene mutation can disrupt normal development or cause a medical condition. It is important to note that genes themselves do not cause disease. Genetic disorders are caused by mutations that make a gene malfunction. For example, when people say that someone has the cystic fibrosis gene, they're usually referring to a mutated version of the CFTR gene, which causes the disease. All people, including those without cystic fibrosis, have a version of the CFTR gene. Genetic predisposition to disease is also called genetic susceptibility, which means an increased likelihood of developing a particular disease based on a person's genetic makeup. These genetic changes contribute to the development of a disease, but do not actually cause it. Some people with a predisposing genetic variation will never get the disease, while others will. Sometimes one will see on the medicine way scan an oncogene or proto-oncogene. A proto-oncogene is an oncogene in its non-state. It is a normal gene. An oncogene is a mutated cancer-causing gene. Oncogenes have the potential to cause cancer. Proto-oncogenes can be transformed into oncogenes by initiators or mutagens, such as a virus. A cancer-causing virus or mutagen may pick up an oncogene when it is reproduced in a previous host. Proto-oncogenes are genes that normally help genes grow. When a proto-oncogene mutates, there are too many copies of it. It can become permanently turned on or activated when it's not supposed to be. When this happens, the cell grows out of control and becomes an oncogene, which can lead to cancer. Tumor suppressor genes are normal genes that slow down cell division. They repair DNA mistakes or tell cells when to die. I mentioned this earlier. It's known as, that process is known as apoptosis or programmed cell death. When tumor suppressor genes don't work properly, cells can grow out of control, which can lead to cancer. A difference between oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes is that oncogenes result from the activation of proto-oncogenes, but tumor suppressor genes contribute to cancer when they're inactivated. There is on 17 chromosome, if you do a scan and you look at the chromosomes, you'll notice that mom and dad each give a number of chromosomes to the child. Chromosome 17 is famous for TP53, which is a cell division regulator. Hundreds have 2 of these genes, which codes for the P53 protein. TP53 has been found inactivated in about 75% of all tumors. Tumor suppressor gene mutations are usually acquired, epigenetic, not inherited. In all cancers, scanning of the 17 chromosomes in the affected organ, scanning of the 17 chromosome in the affected organ should be done and given methatherapy when indicated, including at the lower levels. You want to turn that gene back on. You want to turn TP53 on because 75% of all tumors have it inactivated. And you do that at the top level to begin with. You treat it And of course, in the process of treating chromosome 17, which you may find are 4s or 5s or 6s on, and maybe only one parent has given it to you, or maybe that you have both regulators turned off. Mom and dad's contributions of TP53 has been turned off, which means that you have no regulation of a tumor. The tumor can grow and do whatever it wants. There's no message for it to commit suicide, apoptosis. So if you're treating a patient that has cancer, you're going to definitely go to chromosome. You're going to look at their chromosomes in the organ where they have the cancer. And you're going to look to see if you're going to look at chromosome 17. And if chromosome 17 has 4s, 5s, or 6s, it means that the possibility of TP53 being turned off is there. And you're going to treat it until chromosome 17, both chromosome 17s, mom and dad's, are back to normal, 3s or 2s or 1s. Then you want to go deeper into 17 because there's so many genes and some of them are not identified. It doesn't matter because you're going to treat every single one. You're going to go inside the cell to turn off or basically try to get rid of 4s, 5s, and 6s inside chromosome, inside the DNA, chromosome 17. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes. They are a combination of DNA and protein. As telomeres get shorter and shorter with each division, we move closer to death. Longer telomeres give us longer and healthier life. When you are on a sick organ, hit the test standards key and go to anti-aging and check it. In the white box, upper right corner, and telomeres will be listed, allowing you to treat or make a remedy for longer telomeres and a healthier and longer life for you or your patient. However, keep in mind that there are over 3,000 genes involved in aging, so telomeres are only part of the story. So remember, if you're on a sick organ, go to the test standards key, go to anti-aging and check it. And in the white box, upper right corner, telomeres will be listed, allowing you to treat or make a remedy for it. More on TP53. Read P53, the gene that cracked the cancer code by Sue Armstrong. You can order the book. It's a little paperback book and it's available from Amazon. Stem cells have the remarkable potential to develop into many different cell types in the body during early life and growth. In addition, in many tissues, they serve as a sort of internal repair system, dividing essentially without limit to replenish other cells as long as the person or animal is still alive. When a stem cell divides, each new cell has the potential of either to remain a stem cell or become another type of cell with a more specialized function, such as a muscle cell, a red blood cell, or a brain cell, so on. Stem cells are distinguished from other cell types by two important characteristics. First, they're unspecialized cells capable of renewing themselves through cell division, sometimes after long periods of inactivity. Second, under certain physiologic or experimental conditions, they can be induced to become tissue or organ-specific cells with special functions. In some organs, such as the gut, stem cells regularly divide to repair and replace worn out or damaged tissue. Stem cells are important for living organisms for many reasons. Stem cells offer new potentials for treating diseases such as diabetes, liver, kidney, joints, and even heart disease. Stem cells can be directed to differentiate cells and tissues and to treat diseases, including macular degeneration, spinal cord injury, stroke, burns, heart disease, diabetes, osteoarthritis, and rheumatoid arthritis. This is considered regenerative medicine. And by the way, I just recently posted on a British research study using red light to restore people who had macular degeneration and lost their central vision. And they're no longer blind and it's been repaired. You might want to read the article. It's very interesting. The British are ahead of us. Not only that, but in Britain, the device is given free to patients with the disease. In the United States, money talks, nobody walks. And so it costs $12,000. If a patient's stem cells are used, there is less chance of rejection. If a patient gets transplanted stem cells from another person, there's always a fear of rejection by the patient's immune system. Therefore, when possible, it's better to use the patient's own stem cells. Thus, it is important to evaluate a patient's stem cells with the medicine way. A small percentage of stem cells are found in the blood, however. You will not be able to locate a stem cell by going directly to their blood cells, to the blood cells. To evaluate and treat stem cells, you must scan one of the three bones: the transverse section of the upper arm, transverse section of the left and right femur, or the horizontal thoracotomy at the level of the fourth thoracic vertebrae. But the best bone to scan is the latter, the sternum. Once you scan the sternum, you must scan the marrow in the sternum. There you will find blood cells, and by moving your probe with the microscope icon active, you can locate a stem cell. Scan the stem cell and then treat accordingly. So you choose the spine icon for the system, then you choose the horizontal thoracotomy at the level of the fourth thoracic vertebrae. Then probe over the breastbone, bottom center.
You okay? It not move?
No, I'm moving. So the breastbone, once you're over the breastbone with the microscope icon active, you will see blood cells. Click and you're on the blood cell level. Scan the blood cells, move your probe over the cells until you locate the stem cell, a small, round, tan-looking cell. Scan the stem cell. You can also go deeper and locate the chromosomes and scan and treat them. You can go even deeper. The important goal is healthy stem cells. Treatment of one stem cell should treat all stem cells. In addition to the fact that the Medicine Way on Auto 3D can scan the chromosomes and genes from time to time when there is a chromosome or genetic component, you're able to do so also when you're moving your probe with the microscope icon on. You will often come across the chromosomes, which you can also scan and treat. There is an additional option when you're in an organ by going to the test standards icon. Click it, and it will take you to the upper right-hand corner white box with a long list of options. Check the pathomorphology listing for your diagnosis and test the reliability of the diagnosis. Then go to the listing of chromosomes and check that. The top chromosome will give you a gene, including if it is an upper arm or lower leg. You can then go to a remedy listing such as homeopathy. Check that for the top recommended remedy and make your remedy to treat the chromosome gene. Making a remedy may be your best option for a problem. What happened?
So what slide that you talk? Because you should
Way down. Go further, way down. A lot way down.
genetic
Way down.
almost done, right?
Just keep on going. You got a long way to go.
Photo, no. More on keep it. So the problem is heavily class. You cannot ask question.
Yeah.
You got to go to heaven.
Chromosome
scanning. Yeah, this is the last one.
Turn
Okay.
afraid.
Okay, this is the last slide.
It's
So
only
now what do we got coming up?
okay. Let me share the PowerPoint. Okay, student. Nobody taught you.
Let's take a break.
Okay, take
Take,
5 minutes.
no, let's do maybe 15 minutes.
No, because a lot of
We'll
things
do
to
a
talk.
background and all that.
Okay, just about 10 to 15 minutes, okay? Take break. Take look.
It's getting cold.
The problem is that, right, online people, online people. From the road,
Yes, go ahead.
The problem is that when we learn heavily class, we cannot ask questions. Got to go to heaven, right? To ask questions
Okay.
up there.
On the subject of
You
conflict
gonna
of
give me a ticket?
psychotherapy in the Medicine Way. You remember that,
You want me to move the camera?
yes, please. One of the determining causes of
Yeah, look like
disease
something more
is
about.
psychological,
Hold on.
and then
Look like
don't
something
get
more
second
about
or third
medicine way,
hand.
about how to treat
Although there's always the possibility of
emotional
third-hand smoke,
or something.
because the
That's gonna be
entirety
next
of
month,
one's
okay?
DNA genome
Can you?
as a way to regulate the activity or expression
Yeah,
of all the genes within the
yeah,
genome.
I will.
I would like to.
Now, I want to give you an example.
Sullivan's
Um,
video.
and I believe we might touch on it again
We did.
in our discussion here, but
Yeah, I would definitely like to have his videos.
as we know,
Oh.
80–90% of all lung cancers are caused by cigarette
like-
smoking or its immune system. Affects the human
Watch it.
body, Dr.
Okay,
Mc-
Six.
And hello, everyone. So we are recording. We got that going. And all right.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What I would like to do is start with the digestive system where we stopped the last time. Let me go back here and pull up my files. Of course. And then I will have to share. So we are seeing your slides. That's correct, right?
No,
Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can
Before,
share this.
I forgot to make you to be
Post.
presenter because so that's why you can share screen. Give me a second. Okay, sure. Yeah, okay. I can make you to be a presenter.
Okay.
Make presenter. Okay. Just share. So you can share screen.
Awesome.
Yeah, whatever you want to.
So let's go down here so you can see that. And let's go to open that. Oh my gosh, look at this, you guys. We are a little tech savvy. At least we're savvy on something. Slides. Okay, but that didn't work. Oh, I have to share. That would help. Do this. Oh my goodness, this is so awesome. Right. We got that.
Okay. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. I sent out an email. I sent out 2 emails today. The first one had information on the American Cancer Society on colorectal cancer. So 2 of those handouts. And then I sent you another email that had an updated digestive system picture here, and then Candida test. And I didn't know if you had that before. So, and the last thing that Betsy was going to help, even Cheryl, was to send out a picture of the Chapman reflexes. They got it. Swell. Because in our presentation today, we talk about the Chapman reflexes. And I'm assuming you guys haven't talked about that at all. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so we left off with this diagram as the last thing from the last class. So we're going to start off with this. This is on your board exam, and the more details you know about the digestive system, the better off you will be. And so I will go into as much detail as I possibly can. You don't get docked for not knowing something, but the more information you put into your diagram, it looks better for you. And you don't get those extra points like on other exams. The intention is for you to be as complete and detailed as possible. And of course, if you find more information on your self-study resources, by all means, put it in there. So this first picture is, let's see, hold on. The second picture is for you to practice. You can copy this, you can do black and white, it doesn't really matter, but the intention is for you to help memorize this picture, and you will have blanks on your boards, okay? So, and by the boards, I mean for the ANMA boards. And if you go through them, or if you go through another certification, there is one more, I forget the name of it, but the majority of us have gone through ANMA. All right, so let's just start from the very top and we'll go to the very bottom. Oral cavity. And let me be clear, the digestive tract, T-R-A-C-T, is the digestive pipes, if you will, your plumbing, if you will. So it goes in and it goes out. And then the system itself is where the nutrients go to and where the everything is utilized. So we'll start with the oral cavity. So oral cavity is the mouth, and this is your tongue right through here. Okay. Let's see if I can use, I can't on this. I was looking for my pointer, but I can't do it on here. Salivary glands. We'll go into detail on a lot of these. So salivary glands in the back of the throat, and it's behind the throat itself, behind the tissue. And then you have some underneath your tongue. Upper esophagus, and then esophagus. And then the esophagus runs into the stomach. Then you have the upper portion of the stomach and the lower portion of the stomach. And I forgot to mention the lower esophageal sphincter. And again, that is behind the liver. So I am tracing the tract, T-R-A-C-T. Then it goes through the pyloric sphincter into, I say duodenum. Some people say duodenum. It doesn't matter. Iridology, iridology, doesn't really matter. Tomato, tomato. Here's a duodenum. And then it goes into the small intestine. And then from the small intestine, it's going to travel all the way through like 22 feet. We'll talk about that. It's going to pass this cecum right in here between the ascending colon and the appendix. And then so we ascend the colon and transverse colon, and then it comes through the descending colon and then out the rectum. Now everything in between. So the salivary glands, sorry, I mentioned that prior, those are everything in between. So the salivary glands, then once the stomach has done its thing, we'll talk about that. The micronutrients will go through the liver and pass through the gallbladder, and it will also pass through the pancreas. Okay. And then, of course, disseminate out into the bloodstream. So with all of these words, memorize them, memorize their location, and then input them right here. Now, just so you understand, this is a drawing, and it's not to size. The gallbladder is up higher in the liver, and the pancreas is actually a little higher as well. And the intention is to show that the pancreas is in this location or behind, below the stomach and lateral to the duodenum, but it's in this vicinity. So again, the intention is so that you understand these organs are in these areas, but you have to be able to identify them. Anybody have questions on that? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So now we're going to start at the oral cavity. And how does that work? Can you, if you can't see that writing, you'll have to bring up the information on your email, the handout. The mouth, you do not have to know details. It's nice to understand where things are located in the mouth because they do help with mechanical digestion. So we have the lips, the upper and the lower, and then obviously we have the teeth for some people. And I do say that because some people don't have teeth. But when you talk with elderly, they say they can't chew, then they begin not to eat, right? Okay. Then we have the hard palate and the soft palate. So right here in front, and then all the way behind, close to this dangly thing, the uvula, is the soft palate. The soft palate, when you have some ice cream or something super cold, you get a blazing headache. That hits the vagus nerve. So here's a little trick for you. Put your tongue right on the soft palate. You can even put your thumb right on the soft palate, and it helps to ease that pain from an ice cream brain freeze. Super easy. Here's something else, another little bit of tidbit. For those of you who've had children who've had braces, a lot of times the hard palate and the soft palate bones aren't meshed together. Now, I'm not an orthodontist, but in my experience, those bones are not well meshed together. And so you can use your thumb. They don't recommend it. They'd rather you have braces. Of course. So you can take your thumb and you can actually push on the hard palate and help form the maxilla, those bones right here in the cheek, to help bring the teeth back together, of course. You have to experiment with it. I've seen some great results. My sister and I used to do that as kids. And you're not flipping anybody off, just saying. That's an Italian flip off. You can even start real small. Absolutely. Oh, I've seen adults wear braces all the time. And I've suggested that. Yeah, absolutely. You have to do it frequently. Yeah, so
palate expanders.
Yes.
They are like needing the braces. They just put a palate expander.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So just, something to think about. And I've seen it work. And my sister and I never had braces. We've been fortunate. The other thing that's quite interesting is that individuals who have really, really crooked teeth, it is said, and I've tried to do my own observation, that those children grew up in a very stressful environment. So if you notice teeth that are sort of mangled and crazy, ask them, that's like a body sign, ask them what their upbringing was like. Okay. My children were not brought up in a very stressful household and had crooked teeth as well, but not super mangled, right? Because then you're also looking at nutrition. How much nutrition did they have? Did they have enough money to purchase food? Were they getting enough calcium? Were they, all of these things cause stress. And of course, emotional stress will be a part of that if they're not sleeping well. So these are just sort of clues.
I was wondering if I could do it if you're not, when you have that big teeth to lose, if you get rid of it right away so that the other teeth can just come in instead of going behind.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And I've had one of my sons, my middle son, had a tooth right in the center come out. Boys are an interesting breed. I love them to death, but they get all kinds of funky things happening to them. We even have extra vertebra in our family. That's why they're so tall. Yeah, that's kind of a funny thing. Okay, so you can talk about the frenulum. So you have an upper frenulum. Let's see, right there, and then one down here. People get that snipped, and a lot of times you don't need that, but yeah, absolutely tongue-tied. So the goal of digestion, this you'll need to know, right? The goal of digestion is to break down particles into their smallest form to be absorbed by tissues. That is the whole purpose of why we eat. It's not for emotional reasons. It's not for to appease somebody else, but we have to break down these particles into their smallest form to be absorbed by tissues. Digestion is a hydrolytic process. So hydro is water. If you don't have water to process your nutrients, then you build up toxins. You know, it's just a vicious cycle. So we have insoluble foods that are broken down to be soluble so that they can be absorbed in liquid by the addition of water and the action of enzymes. So again, start with the oral cavity in your description. You don't have to go through all of the details, but you can if you want. Now the salivary glands. So we have 3 sets. Saliva is influenced by psychological factors. Yes, please put this in. So you will see it, you will smell it. So odor is sort of a bad thing. Aroma is a good thing, a good smell. The thought of food. Is somebody hungry? That can start salivation. As much as 1,000 cc's or 1 liter or 1 to 1.5 quarts of saliva can be produced and secreted in a 24-hour period. There is hypersalivation. That is something else. But in a normal, healthy individual, that's how much saliva is produced and secreted in a 24-hour period. So the salivary glands produce a chemical digestion. So there's a difference between chemical and mechanical. Think of your teeth. So that's the machine, right? Your lips, your tongue, that's the machine. So mechanical. Now we have the chemical. So the salivary glands secrete saliva called ptyalin. So the P is silent. Yes. Secret right there. Know that. Ptyalin. Ptyalin. P-T-Y-A-L-I-N. And maltase. To break down starch to maltose, then to glucose. Okay? Now look at this picture and the location of the salivary glands. So when you enter into the mouth, so right underneath the tongue, you have the sublingual gland. And further down underneath the tongue and back is the submandibular gland. And then up above is the parotid gland. So my mother-in-law passed away from parotid gland cancer. It was undiagnosed. She had what's called a temporal mandibular joint pain. And she did have severe pain there. And it was such a pain that no one understood. She had an MRI and it came back clean. It was a year later and pain, severe pain, and the swelling got so bad that her stepson-in-law, who was a medical doctor, so my husband's stepbrother, decided, you know, something's got to be done. He did go to, I think, let's see, the MRI was done at Mayo up in Minnesota, and he looked at the MRI, and he was so angry because the tumor was at here's the picture, right? The tumor was way down here on the edge of the MRI. They didn't cut it out. the radiologist missed it. So she went undiagnosed for an additional year. Okay. And she had the opportunity to have, and I've seen this and I've taken care of many patients. Why many patients? Because surgeons like to cut. The jawbone removed and a big hole in here, right? And the whole family got together and said, no, you don't really want that. So why be disfigured in the in end of life? So she was never disfigured, and it was a sad case. And here is the other caveat for you when you go to the dentist. And please be sure to tell your clients when they go get their teeth checked. That is, it is incumbent upon all dentists to take a swab, a gauze, 2x2 or a 4x4, pull out the tongue and take their finger and go way down deep and around the tongue to feel for anything that's abnormal. That never happened to her. So my dentist does that, and I'm thrilled. And he is acutely aware of our family and my mother-in-law having that issue. So those two things, please be sure to have that done. On a happier note, water is truly important because we do have a lot of saliva that we need to mix the food with, and to make sure that the food can be easily, it can easily pass down the esophagus, okay? And that's the direction where we're headed. Mechanical digestion. So this is mechanical, right? So the food has to pass through the mouth after it's been all churned up and wetted, if you will. Oh, and by the way, the question always comes up, should I drink water with my meal? Well, you don't need to gulp it, but you do need to help moisten your food. Okay. And then when we get to the stomach part, we'll talk a little bit more about the water. So a sip of water to help moisten the food is really a good idea. So here comes the food down through the esophagus. And do you see how the food sort of creates what I call an aneurysm? It's not an aneurysm. It pooches out on the side, and it's still going to travel down. And we're going to get to the top portion of the stomach. This is called peristalsis movement. Put that in your chart.
Doctor,
yes.
that's called a bolus.
Right. I was getting there.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm going to give you an experience of what I used to do in GI. So this food will come down, and the esophagus will actually move, and it's muscle. And hopefully there's no other obstruction. There's no other narrowing of the esophagus. Okay, so be sure to have a little bit of water to moisten the food. Let's see here. Okay, so let me tell you an experience when I was in GI. I worked in GI, so gastrointestinal department. They used to call it proctology. That's an old term because now they have what's called endoscopy, so a tube that will go down your throat and into your stomach, or go up the bottom through the rectum into the intestines. Well, I was on call, actually multiple times I've seen this. And Colleen is right. This particle of food is called a bolus. And there are people out there who have strictures or narrowing of esophagus. And they eat so fast that air gets trapped right about here, or the air will get trapped just below the bolus of food. And it can't really go anywhere because they just gulp and gulp, too fast. So should you eat your food slowly? Yes. And I set up the machine. I did everything I was supposed to do. And we go in to the emergency room, and this guy has never learned his lesson, continues to eat fast. And the doctor and I were right there. And what time of the morning was it? It was probably about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I hand her the tube, and he has this pain. So here's the other sign of the bolus, the food has not actually entered into the stomach. You'll get chest pain. You don't know if it's a heart attack or not. And then you ask all of these questions. However, knowing this one particular guy, we kind of figured it was a gastrointestinal or GI problem. So I handed the doctor the endoscope, and she inserts it after he's had his medication. We go down, and it has a camera. The endoscope and the colonoscope have a camera right at the very, very tip. So you see it you can see it on YouTube, because I've noticed that people are starting to do that now. You see a picture of what's inside. And I'm sure if any of you have had this done, you understand what I'm talking about. So we went down, and then, so pretend that this is the scope. There is either a basket or prongs, and it will be inserted through a very fine tube, very, very fine tube. And the end of it kind of looks like this. So it goes in, and it's collapsed until you push a button at the back of the tubing. Come in, and it will open just like that. And of course, the doctor has control of all of that. I just hold the scope. So she's going down, and I say she because I worked with many female doctors, several males as well. But this one particular one was with one of my favorite docs. And she went in, pulled it out, and unfortunately we couldn't get the entire bolus, but we finally did. And the doctor did her thing. By 5 o'clock, we're gone. And I sat there with the guy trying to figure out why he's doing this constantly. And this is where my natural medicine came in, and the emotions and all of that. And he sincerely had a lot of emotional baggage, and he was challenged, and he was quite morbidly obese. And so the intention is to have your clients eat slowly, make sure the food is wet, and sit with your clients and make sure they understand that they can cause an obstruction in just their esophagus. Okay. I was thinking of something else about this guy. I can't remember the details. Oh, here's the other thing that they will do. They will stretch the esophagus. So there is this rubber, I'll use my pen, but it's much wider. I forget what they call it, but it's a tool, it's a rubber tool, and they have different sizes for each individual. And the end of it, sorry, we'll use this side. The end of it is tapered, so it will fit down the esophagus. And what they do is, here's the esophagus. They'll take the tool, the rubber tool, and they'll actually go down and shove it way down, quick, break up the tissue, the scar tissue that's already developed, and pull it back out to stretch the esophagus. You don't want that. I don't work in that area, but it's very quick, right? And it does bleed. But yes, you're right. It's very quick, and it can be painful.
This may not be the appropriate place to ask, so if it's not,
yeah.
It's situation, someone's stomach, tidal hernia,
goes up into their chest, gets caught up with the esophagus, and I just can't get that in my head.
Yeah.
What that's like.
I'll tell you about that too, because we're heading into the stomach area. So there, what I'm trying to do is bring in scenarios of each area. Okay. So let's finish this section and then we'll talk about the hiatal hernia. And yes, it does exist. Tylen's action, so this is one of the digestive enzymes, is stopped when food reaches and is mixed with stomach acid and gastric juices. So that chemical process is stopped. The secretion of gastric juices is simulated by the hormone gastrin. So now we're going from Tylen to gastrin, which is secreted in the lower area of the stomach or the pyloric region. This hormone gastrin is then absorbed into the bloodstream and carried to the cells, especially the stomach, to release gastric acid. So what are the triggers of gastrin? So we've already talked about them. They are psychological, mental, mechanical, and chemical. So here's another, you have to know this, mental, so psychological, mechanical, and chemical. Remember, we smell, taste, see, and think about food too. Yet if we are angry, excited, have fear, view unpleasant sights, or even smell bad odors, gastrin is inhibited. And so expanding the stomach by the filling of food is a mechanical trigger. The chemical trigger is oh, sorry, I have a typo in there, is from, say, seasoning, stock of beef, chicken, etc. So anything, not the food itself, unless you can smell it, taste it, think about it, that is the chemical trigger.
So the chemical trigger is a chemical, right?
Sure, why not? Sure, if you want to say that is a chemical as well. Seasonings, so say, I don't know, rosemary. Is that a chemical? Sure, it can't, you know, when you break it down. Yeah, when you cook it, sure. But remember, you have the psychological, mechanical, and chemical. So the mental also stimulates the chemical release. Okay. Okay, stomach functions. You do have to know the different acid levels of the stomach. So at the top of the esophagus, so you have your, well, I'm going to scroll back up here just to show you. Don't want you to get a seizure because then I will have more paperwork. So the lower esophageal sphincter. Okay, I'm going to scroll back down. So put this in your drawing as well. So right about here, you have the lower esophageal, so lower esophagus, and then the sphincter, so it will open and close right about here. Food will enter. And this portion of the esophagus is about a pH of 5 to 7. I'm not going to go into pH. I'm hoping it's understood that you know what pH is. So you have acid and you have alkaline. The lower the number, the more acidic the substance is. The higher the number, the more alkaline. And there's always that fine line between acidity and alkalinity. So here we have the upper portion of the stomach, and then obviously the food will drop down to the lower portion called where the pyloric sphincter is. Okay, in the center of the stomach, that is a little more acidic, and it's about a pH of 1 to 2. You can go online and you can find this, and everybody has their own pH levels. But know that the upper portion of the esophagus and stomach area is a little bit more alkaline than the body of the stomach. So the body of the stomach is about a pH of 1 to 2.
Esophagus and the upper stomach is where you said it was 5 to 7.
Correct. Correct. Okay. And then when the food enters into the stomach and it begins to churn and it begins to absorb all of the juices and it's beginning to break down, it's called chyme. Know that word, chyme. Let's see if I can make, there we go. Is that better? And again, you still have a peristaltic motion. The stomach is moving and helping to churn. And then the food will eventually move through the pyloric sphincter and enter into the duodenum. And in this area, the pH is about 6.1. The majority of ulcers are right here. I've seen some nasty, 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 ugly, ugly ulcers. And they are all right here. That food sits, that food doesn't get churned, it doesn't move past this pyloric sphincter. It's pretty ugly. What happens?
And with the medicine way, the majority of issues are between that spot.
Absolutely. Medicine way shows higher stress in that area, right? Let's see, let me just look real quick. Yeah.
I'm also seeing higher stress rate where the esophagus and stomach.
Okay, so let's talk about what Tracy mentioned was the hiatal hernia. Let me go back to the picture. Up here. So what is a hernia? A hernia is when tissue pushes out, pushes up, pushes down in a different direction that it's supposed to be. Because you can get an inguinal hernia, you can get umbilical hernias, where the tissue just sort of pooches out. And the hiatal hernia, remember you have ribs right here. So they're right about here. Oops, they're right about here. And the esophagus will pooch up underneath the rib cage. And where does all this acid go? Right up through there. I had one when I was a kid. I was about 12 years old, and this is what really made me come into natural health. Besides my dad and stepmother, they were natural health practitioners. And in one of, I was going to take a look to see if Dr. Sullivan had any one of his books here, or one specific book by Matthew Woods. There is a gentleman, a naturopath from California. His name is Jack Richardson, since passed away. He could tell that I had a hiatal hernia. I had such severe pain. I couldn't digest my food. And he went up underneath my rib cage and manually pulled down my stomach, pulled down my esophagus. And it was so painful, mind you. And I heard a pop. We all heard a pop, all those that were standing by me, when he pulled it down like this. And I tell you, it was the biggest relief I'd ever had, because I could breathe at 12 years old. And if you could look this up now on YouTube. I mean, you can see a lot of people talking about hiatal hernias. Years ago, I want to say 30, 35 years ago, GI doctors said, no, those don't exist. That's how they are, right? But you can also teach yourself how to help with that. And you have to be conscientious. You have to be careful because there's a lot happening in this area, right? There's a lot of organs. You have a lot of blood vessels. And Tracy, yes, it's very painful because your food doesn't enter into the stomach. It doesn't digest well. So they would have to go in, if you're not adept at doing it, at really helping with their stomach, they would have to go get an ultrasound, and Betsy would be happy to take a look.
So in this particular case, it was Easter Sunday, and it was my mother-in-law. and
I'm going to scroll down.
they
Uh-huh.
thought-
Right.
Called for her in her ticket. Turns out they said her stomach had slipped up
Uh-huh.
into her chest area. Now, how this is lost in translation to us,
Mhm.
but then after that, they were waiting to see if it would come down on its own, is what they said.
Right. Did
Because
they
she
put
couldn't-
weight? Did they put some kind of weight in the stomach, like extra water?
So they were
Oh.
saying that her stomach was full up there, so it couldn't get it to come down.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So then I think they finally went in there and pumped her stomach, removed the contents of her stomach, so they could, but they couldn't get it. What was translated to us finally was, it is still up there, wrapped around, is what they said. That's why I can't get this pictured in my head. Wrapped kind of around her esophagus, and they can't do anything about it without surgery. But they said she has like a 10% chance of surviving the surgery, so they're not gonna do it. So now she's just stuck having to eat these little tiny small meals. Does any of this make sense?
Yep.
I'm trying to
Yep.
picture this in my head.
It's like telescoping. There's a long,
Intussusception.
say it again.
Intussusception.
Thank you. Yes, yes. It's a telescoping of the tissue. And the challenge with that is scar tissue develops. And because the body is attempting diligently to protect itself. And she really can't do anything except for surgery. And yes, eating small meals, nothing else will help it.
So when they're sitting, so the stomach and the esophagus are essentially attached as one brings into the other.
Correct.
How is it wrapped around? I mean, I guess I'm.
We'd have to read the report
Okay.
just to make sure.
Okay.
So
Intussusception is different than what
Yeah.
he's saying. Intussusception is it
the
goes
telescoping,
in.
yeah.
It goes into itself. in a
And
couple
that's what I'm
different
wondering.
layers.
That's what I'm wondering if that actually has happened
Yeah.
in a portion of the esophagus. And it is a very serious injury to the digestive tract because you have a lot of blood vessels in there, you have a lot of nerves, and so on and so forth. So why don't you have her get you the report?
She won't let me do
Have her just get her report so that she can have it on file for herself, so she can learn what has happened if she's interested.
How does something like that happen?
Well, several things. What is her digestion in the first place like? What are the foods that she's eating? If she's not getting enough fiber to push through, what other surgeries has she had? What other things has she had removed? There are holes left when things are removed, and then the body tries very hard to replace those hollow areas, right? So it could be any number of things.
Yeah, anemia is also something.
Say that again?
Yeah, will.
Well,
also
blood, yeah.
Create intussusception.
And she had like super duper, well, first she had diverticulitis, then it took them like a year and a half to diagnose it. She went down to like 76 pounds.
So she has digestive issues already.
Super duper high,
Sad.
we call it hyperthyroidism.
Ah.
And it took them a while to diagnose that. But yeah, she's one of those people that's doctors only, doctors, Western medicine, don't talk to me about what you're doing. So yeah,
I was just trying to picture all this in my head, like what she was trying to, what is really happening with it? Based on, school, what do we know about this? So thank you for explaining.
Those kinds of individuals are very difficult to convince otherwise. And they're just not ready. And they will do everything in their heart. Here's what you can do with them. You can ask them questions about confidence. Do you find that you have a good relationship with your doctor and the doctor has a good relationship with you? So build up that confidence, build up hope for them, because that helps healing. There are a lot of people who will not do natural medicine. Fine, that's okay. That's why we have,
21 prescriptions.
it, again, that's what she believes.
Yes, she is. But no, I was just wanting the explanation.
Yeah, of hiatal
her, I'm
hernia.
not
Yeah.
able to, but so I could put it in context in my brain for what I'm learning in school.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I have family like that too.
My husband always looks and says, "No, don't even bring it up to her."
Yep.
Jesus didn't try and heal the Pharisees.
Exactly.
Just
It's true. Mechanical and chemical digestion. So chemicals released into the stomach include hydrochloric acid, or HCl, potassium chloride, which is KCl, sodium chloride, which is NaCl, and mucin, which is a lubricant. Do you need to know those? Yep, absolutely. Everything on here is a great way for you to pass this section of your boards. Enzymes released into the stomach is pepsin. So that digests protein, is the most important of the gastric juices. Pepsin requires a very acidic environment. A pH is about 1.5 due to the hydrochloric acid. Okay, now gastric lipase breaks down fats, with it needing a pH of about 7.8. Mucin, excuse me, mucin, just take a quick drink of this. Mucin is the lubricant, so it lubricates the lining of the stomach and food to move through a gastrointestinal tract. We have a magpie right there, 2 magpies, these 3 magpies. Sorry, these are our state bird. They're absolutely gorgeous. Sorry for that little, that was a sign. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. Let's see. So it helps move the food through the gastrointestinal tract, and it may be a protectant against the acids in the digestive juices. How long does food stay in the stomach? Normally, those of us who haven't had surgery to the stomach or have challenges like Tracy's, was it your mother-in-law? Mother-in-law. So it stays in the stomach for about 3 to 5 hours, even up to 7 hours, depending on its contents. Foods that are a combination of fats and proteins will remain the longest. Large quantities of food can slow the flow of gastric juices and emptying time. What would happen if someone had a gastric bypass or strictures in the esophagus, poor peristaltic action, tumors, tissue damage like ulcers? Okay, think about those things that would cause obstruction and slowing down of the digestive system. So what you need to know is what's considered normal, and then when you have your clients, then you go to the abnormal, I guess, if you want to call it that. Note that absorption does not take place in the stomach for most contents. Alcohol, some sugar will quickly absorb, but fats, protein, and carbohydrates are digested in the small intestine. Microorganisms are destroyed or inhibited during normal food intake due to the acidity of the stomach acid. That's what is such a beautiful thing about our body. It knows when there are foreign proteins that come in, and that's why we need that hydrochloric acid. This is the first line of defense for the body when ingesting food. After the duodenum, no further chemical digestion takes place. It's mainly absorption. And here's a question for you. Think about this. Why do hydrochloric acid, HCl, and what do hydrochloric acid and enzymes do? Right? They literally break the chemical bonds into their simplest forms. So you eat a piece of meat made of protein, but this has no use for you until it is broken down in the amino acid form. The bonds between each amino acid must be broken to access each individual protein or amino acid. Carbohydrates and fats are also broken down, but in different areas of the body. So the environment of the gut must have a certain pH or an acid level to be able to break down any form of substrate. And then here's an example. I'm not going to go into details here, but this is an example, and you can take a look at this when you review. Okay, a little bit more on the stomach. So chyme, once the food turns from a bolus of food goes into the stomach, the food turns into this chyme, and it's the food that's been turned and mixed and flipped and flopped by the stomach. Then it passes through the pyloric sphincter into the small intestine. That's just a simple picture that you can add on when you do your explanation on your boards. And I think I was just...
Have us say duodenum instead of small intestine?
So there's a difference. The duodenum is the upper portion, or the area that comes out from the stomach before it reaches into the small intestine. There's a specific area that's the duodenum.
Right.
And then it'll go into the small intestine.
Past what point?
Oh,
Because
what
it's
point?
actually not showing.
It's not, because I didn't put it in there.
Okay.
So don't worry about it. Know that right from the stomach, the pyloric sphincter, you have the duodenum, and then it will go into the small intestine. The only thing that you really need to know for the exam is that upper portion of the small intestine is the duodenum.
Okay. Thank you.
None is stupid, truly.
What the exam you keep referring to? Is that just all the natural medicine? Or is it overall biofeedback, all over everything else we've learned up to this point?
So it will have, doesn't have acupuncture or auricular therapy. It will have some iridology. It will have natural medicine. It will have homeopathy. It will have a lot of things that you learn in here. It doesn't have spagyrics. Doesn't have. You're gonna go through a review.
I was just curious, because you're the teacher that's really been talking about the exam, and so I thought, am I misunderstanding? Is that for the course of this book, is this book the main?
Yep.
That we need for that?
Yep.
Oh,
But you also have to know the cell, and I'm not going through that. I think I don't know. I have to talk with the other teachers. The cell, you'll need to know the components of the cell.
which we didn't, touch on that a little bit. I was
Okay.
just curious, because like I said,
Yeah.
when we talked about it, I'm like, am I using this money?
No,
for this one?
no, we're just I'm just really pushing it now.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to know these digestive juices contain 7 enzymes. I was also asked to be a little bit more detailed following Dr. Sullivan.
Okay.
So know these. So enzymes all have ACE after them. Everyone has ASE after them. Okay, small intestine. Oh, here you go. Here you go, Betsy, right there.
So it's like the U joint.
Yeah, it's like a U joint, sure. It's a U-turn. Small intestine is about 20 to 22 feet long. Large intestine is about 5 feet long. And about 3 to 4 inches below the pyloric sphincter right here. You have the so they enter into the pancreatic juices, the bile and intestinal juices are secreted almost simultaneously. Let me explain that. So right towards, I want to say it's right about here, and you don't have to know this, I'm just telling you another story. When we go into looking at, say, the pancreas or the pancreatic duct or the gallbladder duct, there's this itty bitty hole, and I can't remember the name of it. It's just one hole. And Fadar. Yeah, boy, you right on. Bringing back these memories of my, yeah, that's the ultrasound. Did you go in and do MRCPs and ERCPs?
No, but we had to learn about them.
Okay.
because We would scan them, and then if we couldn't decide what's happening with the gallbladder, they would go for those.
Yeah, so
We
we
had to learn.
further testing under fluoroscopy, under bright lights, not just bright lights, but the chemicals or the isotopes, all of those, radiation, yes, illuminate the whole area. So there's one itty bitty hole. Seriously, it's microscopic. The doctor has to find this little hole and really push the stomach out of the way because it's doing its peristalsis, and it's a very pliable tissue. So they put in this file or wire, and it goes right through here. And then the doctor has to decide if they're going to go into the pancreatic duct or into the gallbladder duct. And they are right like this, and it's super dangerous because you can actually penetrate outside and cause damage. I worked with some super great doctors, and I'd never seen them do any of that. So you can go into the pancreatic duct, see if there's any obstruction. Can a stone get in there from the gall? Yes, it can actually merge into there. Have we seen cancer develop right? Absolutely. And same with the gallbladder. We want to see what kind of obstruction is there, but they all are on a limited amount of time per their regulations. You have to go in quickly and then come out, find what you have to find, and then go out. And they have to document how long it takes them to do this whole procedure. And you do find some very ugly things. And let me tell you, it smells. Oh, it smells so bad. Because when they pull out the file, all of this goop, it goes through the mouth itself, and we pull it out of the mouth, and all of this bile comes out. And who gets wet? The nurses do, because the doctors jump out of the way, and we try to. Yeah, but needless to say, a lot of the people who have this have very poor digestion, and they have other things that are challenging them. And I've seen a lot of them who have had gastric bypasses. Okay, let's see here. Go through this. So gastric bypass is usually a choice.
That's what I thought. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's when they want to lose weight and they can't live. But
It's not that they can't.
what's it they want? Well,
Maybe.
it's about their food. If they're not able to break down at the beginning portions because their stomach isn't working, how are they breaking down any further if they can't break down fats? Where do fats get stored when you don't break them down?
Sits right here.
So
It's a vicious cycle. Truly is a vicious cycle. Yeah, it's not stupid.
From
All right, so let's
From-
question.
Hello,
Somebody has a
Mad-
question.
Mad here. Is the peptide shots, like injection, is this where it works?
Peptide shots?
Yeah. Have you heard, people are doing that now. They get the peptide shot, like injection to,
So anytime they are getting those kinds of shots is because they have poor digestion. I personally have not had that experience, so I shouldn't even talk about that. So I'm not really familiar, Matt. The newest drug that's out for Ozempic and Mounjaro and what's
Wegovy
trizipatide or whatever it is. Yeah.
or
Is that
Wegovy.
what you're referring to?
No,
Okay, something else.
something else. It's supposed to be like, we have, we give the people, our clients, like supplements. Even me, I take enzymes,
Oh,
like
that's something different. Yeah.
supplements. So I'm talking about that, but instead of a pill, they're injecting it
Okay.
like once a month or something in their belly. It's like a sub-Q, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with it, but I would think that those peptides are effective because and they're much slower because they don't go through the actual digestive tract and break down. But heck, so much is being invented, right? I don't know, Matt. I can't really
Oh,
talk
that's
to that.
okay. It's just because they're expensive, but people are going through that route.
Wow.
Yeah.
People don't want to do the work. Some people say, I've tried and I've done this and I've done that. And I have family members who have done those routes, and they're the ones on multiple pills already. They're the ones who have a lot of different medical issues already.
Only for kids that are doing it, they're all getting the Ozempic phase.
Yeah, the Ozempic face. Yeah, that is pretty. Well, people are desperate, and why don't they pay us instead of?
Well,
You're not fast enough.
We're not fast enough, and nature is not fast enough. Okay. So liver produces enzymes to aid in metabolism, to break down nutrients and convert food into energy. We know that. Detoxification, to process and eliminate toxins from the body. And digestion, to aid in the breakdown of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So I put in here for your information, when you're looking at liver enzymes, or somebody says that I have a problem with my liver, these are the enzymes that are usually taken for blood work. And ALT, if elevated, indicates liver injury. AST, I'm not going to say all the words. Non-specific for liver and other organ injuries. ALP, elevated in cholestasis and liver disease, and then GGT, liver, biliary tract, and pancreatic issues. I highly recommend that if you are working with your clients doing detoxification or building, make sure you get liver enzymes. They do help to give you a better picture. I've seen some, well, I used to work in transplant, so I would see the liver transplant, and those would be so skewed. It was really sad. So I give you a little bit of a further detail here on the anatomy of the liver, pancreas, the gallbladder, and the duodenum. There you go. And you can use this as well for your description, but you see how much closer they are versus the picture that you have up higher on the handout. Pancreatic digestive role. Juices contain 5 enzymes. These are chemical substances let me move the picture here, of complex protein, which is capable of producing a change in other substances without producing a change in itself. Again, they break the bonds. So have you guys gotten in your chemistry class, the chemical bonds? You know, have you done the dual bonds, all of that? Okay. So we have trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxy polypeptidase, amylase, and lipase. It would be nice if you knew those as well.
Medicine where we think of the,
I have seen trypsin. I've seen amylase and lipase. Yes. Yep. Yep. We already talked about in a handout from last month, the benefits of digestive enzymes. You see how this applies, you guys? It's so important. The gallbladder does not produce enzyme, but it stores and concentrates bile produced by the liver to digest fats. Betsy, have you seen individuals who have had their gallbladder removed that still have gallstones?
Yes, all the time.
All the time, right?
They
Yep.
end up in the pancreatic ducts. They
Yep.
End up
Yep.
in the bile ducts.
Yep.
And they end up in excruciating pain in the ER.
Yep. Yep. So these are the individuals that need to have lipase, ox bile. Is that called a spoonerism? That's called a spoonerism. Switched them.
She's stuck.
Okay. So cholelithiasis, probably seen that on the Medicine Way. So here's your gallbladder, common bile duct. And then here's just an example of an ultrasound before and after. Know this for your clients, this next section. The risk factor for stones: female, fat, 40, fertile, and fair.
4Fs.
The 4 Fs. And it is true. It is very, very common, unfortunately. Why? What's that?
It's 5, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I added one now.
New.
Fair is the new one. Yeah. Caucasian. Yeah. High. Well, you don't eat anything anyway.
You see a lot in the Hispanic community.
oh, me.
But you're very skinny.
So fat, excess weight is the highest risk factor because obesity increases cholesterol levels in the bile. So rapid weight gain after 30, that's the age of 30, is a high risk factor, even gaining 5 to 10 kilograms or about 11 to 22 pounds. Women, due to hormonal changes, estrogen increases secretion of cholesterol into bile, and progesterone slows down the emptying of the gallbladder. Oral contraceptives during reproductive years increases the risk as well. Oral contraceptives really contribute to a lot of risk factors. Okay, number 3, fertile pregnancy and hormones. Estrogen levels increase in cholesterol and bile. Progesterone relaxes the gallbladder, causing bile to stagnate. 40s and 50s. So there is cumulative exposure to risk factors and changes in the composition of the bile. And fair, so skin, ethnicity, and genetics, looking at populations higher prevalence in Caucasians and Native Americans, rare in African and some Asian populations, so predisposition to family occurrence.
But then that makes sense why I do it in the Hispanic community, because most of them have a Native American.
They do, yeah, especially here in Colorado. Okay, and then I mentioned these 2 procedures. You don't have to know them, but you will probably have clients who have them. So an ERCP, there's your long words. It's an invasive procedure that uses an endoscope to diagnose and treat issues in the bile and pancreatic ducts. And then the MRCP is the magnetic resonance cholangiopancreatography is a non-invasive MRI-based imaging technique that provides similar diagnostic information without the need for an endoscope. MRCP is often preferred for its lower risk and lack of sedation requirements compared to the ERCP.
What's that magnetic resonance? That medicine way?
No, the MRCP is an actual procedure in the hospital.
Yeah, but medicine wheel is magnetic resonance, right?
It is, but not this particular one that I'm talking about. Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that they're using it too. What we're using in the
Yes,
medicine wheel,
yes,
they're
yes.
using it. I mean, medicine way, they're using it too. Yeah.
Yes. Pretty cool, right? So here is a here is a 24-hour liver, gallbladder, and kidney cleanse for your information that you can use, with your clients. I've tried it, and my diet must be pretty good because I didn't have any stones. But it starts at 6 a.m. and goes through the next day. And you can safely dissolve stones from these organs. So you drink a quart of distilled water. Why distilled water? So distilled water, Mad would know this. So you have hypotonic, hypertonic, and isotonic water. So the distilled water is considered hypotonic. So there's no solutes, there's nothing in there. And water will filter into an area of higher concentration, say the blood, the body, a lot of solutes, into a lower concentration, into a lower solution of water or whatever it is. And that's why distilled water, it will pull out those toxins. That's why it's distilled. Here's a caveat though. If your clients have high blood pressure, they could have a drop in blood pressure to low blood pressure. Okay, so just be aware of that. And then you want to drink as much unfiltered organic apple juice as desired, if they can handle it, if they're not like a severe diabetic. And then that's at 7:30. Take a morning enema or Kalima with 5 gallons of water.
Whoa, that's
you do
me.
it slowly, slowly.
A lot.
They can hold it. Yep. You go slowly. If they can't do it, if they can't do the 5 gallons, try the 1 gallon first. But you can say up to 5 gallons of water. It could be, but this was also from Dr. Ellen Tart Jensen.
Oh.
Yeah. But you want to do it slowly. And if they can't handle the 5 gallons, use your critical thinking and adjust it for them. Okay. 12 noon, drink no more fluids for the rest of the day except distilled water. Again, caveat, watch the blood pressure if they have a challenge. And again, this is only 24 hours. Yes, it is intense. It works. And then shortly afternoon, take a second enema or Kalima with 5 gallons of water. Use your critical thinking skills. And then by 5 p.m., dissolve 2 tablespoons of Epsom salts in 1 quart of distilled water and drink the mixture. By 9 p.m., and I'm going to tell you, when you're doing this, you're not really going to get hungry. It's that thinking process, right? People, I have to eat. Oh my gosh, it's time. Your body knows if it needs to eat or not. 9 p.m., mix 4 ounces of fresh lemon juice with 4 ounces of virgin olive oil and drink the mixture. This is the biggest part, besides the enemas, about helping to move those stones. Does everybody know what a Kalima is? Okay, so a Kalima is using a slant board in the opposite direction. So those of you who are medical, it's Trendelenburg. So your head is down here. But you don't want to go in full, like in full Trendelenburg, right? So you probably want to go about 45-degree angle. And the Kalima itself is like an enema, and it has a tubing, and it has like a little opening where you straddle the board where the opening is, and then the tube will come through where your crotch is. Okay. And then you would just lay there, and you may have a little step stool on the side to help you get off, or you'll need to have like maybe some handlebars or, you know, something to help get you off of that Kalima board. Otherwise, if you do the enema, you're going to be laying flat on the floor with your legs up. Hey, I'm going to give you pictures, you know, give you a visual, and then do it right next to the toilet or on the toilet, and then slowly get back up, okay, to remove and evacuate. If you can hold the fluid in there for about 20 minutes, that will be better, but you'll end up massaging your gut as well. And to start from the rectum, sorry, start from the appendix area and go through the ascending colon, the transverse colon, and then the descending colon to help get all of that mixed. And if, you know, I do recommend this, it's very nice, but if you can't handle doing all of this, go have a professional, a hydrocolonic therapist, do it for you, and then follow the rest of this for your program.
All 5 gallons in there at the.
Some people can hold it. Yeah, some people can do it. That's why I said, use your critical thinking. I personally can only do 1 gallon. That's why, you know, put it in there up to 5 gallons. I can't do the 5 gallons. I only did 1 gallon.
To be real honest, it doesn't seem like a whole lot when you really consider
Yeah.
how big.
How many feet the intestine? Yeah, that's why.
My big 5-gallon thing at home, and I'm like,
Yeah, you're right. And then lie on your right side after you take the lemon juice and virgin olive oil. After this, we'll take a quick break. Lie on your right side to sleep and prop pillows behind your back to help maintain this position through the night. It's also recommended that you put towels or something under your bum because you might leak out, right? In the morning, kidney stones will pass through the bowel elimination. They should be soft and gelatinous and will harden again after they come out in the stool. And then there's your resource. I love this book. It's a great book. Okay, so other herbals. Yep.
All of them?
Liver, gallbladder, and kidney cleanse. Yep. Yep. Up to 20 minutes. I don't think I put that in there, but about up to 20 minutes. Some people can't hold it at all. You do what you can. Okay, herbals, hydrangea to break stones. Some people are allergic to hydrangea. Just be conscientious of that. It does work. I've seen it work amazing things. Chanca piedra is another one that works great. Cascara sagrada to help increase bile flow to dissolve gallstones. Now, Cascara sagrada can cause a lot of gas as well, so you want to be conscientious of that. But you can also do senna. Senna is acts like a laxative, but that can be also too hard. But you want too painful because of the gas that's passing through. Let's say combination. This is what I like: combination of Oregon grape, ginger, fennel, peppermint, and catnip. It's a very calming for the GI, the gastrointestinal tract itself. Fennel helps to dispel gas, and so does peppermint and catnip. If you've never taken catnip, it's not just for cats to get them excited, but I've used that in children, by the way. Catnip is great for children. And then the enzymes along with this is high lipase, digestive bitters, tonic to help the gallbladder to empty. You could take it during. Yeah, you could take it during. Okay, how are we doing, you guys? Absorption. You guys want to take a break? Let's take a quick break.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Would you take all of these herbs, or would you do either the
So
combination or the other ones, or?
Yeah, Lauren, I would do, I like the combination, Oregon grape, ginger, fennel, peppermint, and catnip. Especially if you have a lot of gas. But to help pass the stones, you want to consider the Chanca-Piedra or the hydrangea. But yes, you do take those at the same time. So the Chanca-Piedra and a combination of this. So yes.
Thank you.
I would also add, I didn't mention, I would also add the Cascara Sagrada. So psyllium is another one you can add, but it doesn't help the bile, doesn't help the gallbladder move the bile like the Cascara Sagrada does. Yep. Okay. Did I answer? Did I answer that?
I think so. I'm just curious, like none of these interact. You could take them all together.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You bet. I want to pause for a second. All right, welcome back from the quick break. I just handed out another important handout. Losing my words. And so I'm having one of the ladies post. It's already sent. Okay, so you should have gotten the 4 most commonly deficient elements of nutrition. And my resource is from Dr. Bernard Jensen. He saw so many clients over his 50 years, probably about 50 years of work, that people were so deficient in these particular elements. And when you look at the front, it gives you a description, the body signs. And then when you look at the back, it gives you nutrients. It gives you the foods. And this came directly from, I think, his book called Foods That Heal. So use that for, I made this into a chart. I created this for you. And then I just have it at my desk. You can redo it. Looks like it came off a little cockeyed there, but you can redo it and give one to your clients if you want to. And that way they know you care.
I wouldn't have guessed sodium. Is that before a bunch of processed food was? Yeah. So I would.
So natural sodium.
Yeah, natural sodium.
Yeah, you could get like all the bleach sodium, right? I'm talking about the natural foods, because when you look at these foods, how many people are eating all of these things? And you'll see that they cross, right? They cross pollinate, if you will. Many of them, but a lot of people don't get these in their foods because they don't eat the foods. So it's a good way to help them with their diet.
I don't see cow milk, but I see goat milk.
Because goat milk is higher in natural sodium, calcium. Yep. And I get Mount Capra I really like the Mount Capra. It's dehydrated goat whey. And comes from, I think comes from Washington. And it's got, potassium, bone health. So yeah, it's really good. So let's go back to absorption. We're almost done with this section, actually. Most absorption takes place in the small intestine by a process of transport and diffusion. The small intestine consists of millions of villi, epithelial cells, which look like a brush border. So kind of like this, and then the food will transport over here, the chyme, if you will, or all the broken nutrients. And so these villi will move like this as the food goes through the intestine. And you see it on the medicine way, of course. Monosaccharides, monoglycerides, and amino acids are absorbed and separated from other micronutrients through capillaries and into the portal vein. So it should say go into the portal vein. Short chain fatty acids are absorbed from the endoplasmic membrane. Some absorb directly into the portal vein, where long chain fatty acids are absorbed into the lymphatics. Calcium, sodium, some chloride, iron, hydrogen, magnesium, and phosphate ions are absorbed through the small intestinal mucosa. Vitamin D is required for calcium absorption. Vitamin C and E favor the absorption of iron. And now we do utilization. After absorption, the nutrients enter into a phase called intermediary metabolism, losing their look as food. Every nutrient has been separated, yet sits in a nutritional pool and ready to use the body. The liver is the greatest, largest internal organ, which is considered the chemistry plant in this nutritional pool, which will further process all nutrients, separating and filtering unneeded chemicals, potentially dangerous ones, of course, as well as store beneficial ones, converts sugar into glycogen, process hormones, break down fats, and more. All right. When amino acids are absorbed, they are circulated into the blood for a short time. Here, how do you apply this? All this information, you can write a little bit of an essay about the absorption and the utilization after you draw out your picture and explain what the body is doing in this process. Be a few words, but what it does is show your ability to understand digestion. And that's what I did with my essay. I took a lot of this information and I described a little bit more. When amino acids are absorbed, they are circulated into the blood for a short time. An amino acid that is required by a particular cell will be selected and used for new tissue, repair or maintenance of the body proteins, or for the manufacture of hormones, or even more enzymes. The glucose level in the circulating blood provides a continuous supply of energy to the tissues of the body. And then the glucose content of the blood that is in excess of the immediate needs is then converted to glycogen and stored as a temporary fuel supply. Fat, when utilized, yields fatty acids and glycerol may be converted into glucose in the liver and used for energy. And then the large intestine absorbs water and electrolytes from indigestible food, turning liquid waste into solid feces. And it also stores the feces until they are eliminated from the body through defecation. So I recommend that you understand the end of this presentation regarding the digestive tract. Take all of this and practice with it for your boards and write it out. Think of some words that you can't actually put down on paper. Go back to this and then rewrite it. Yeah, and you'll be able to do it. It's not a difficult process, but it's a matter of getting it into your brain and just letting it be stored there. So I want to talk a little bit about colonoscopies. Here is a picture of a colonoscopy. And the individual is sedated, meaning that they are not actually asleep. Most people are sedated. Some do have to go under anesthesia. And this colonoscope, remember the one that I talked about was an endoscope, so going through the mouth. The colonoscope is inserted by a medical doctor, and it goes through the rectum. It passes through, it starts in the anus, goes past the rectum, and then all the way up through the ascending colon and the transverse colon, and it must go to the cecum, all within 6 minutes. If they can't reach 6 minutes, the doctors have to document why. And the colonoscope and the endoscope have a little camera, like I had mentioned before. Now, here's the biggest challenge. These intestines can be torqued. They can be real tiny and constricted. Remember in iridology, we talked about the collarette and nutritive zone, and that section has to do with the small intestine and large intestine. Those who have a really, really constricted collarette most likely have a very restricted intestine, large intestine. But what is one of the most important things about having this procedure? You have to be cleaned out. And they do give you a medication. It can be a fluid that helps to evacuate you, or they just give you pills. But the caveat here, the warning is, this is a very dangerous procedure. It's still recommended that people have it, especially, I want to say 45 now. They're starting to recommend it more because our diet is not high in fiber. We eat a lot of soft foods, and it's recommended by the medical community. That's what I'm saying. And I have seen some very sad cases where people have not evacuated well. And I've seen some really good cases where people are doing just what they're supposed to be doing. And I would say, in my experience, if you've had one colonoscopy that has been clean, you don't have any what we call polyps like this. Obviously, I got these off of the internet. It's recommended that you have a return visit, I think in 10 years. But if you have presence of polyps, because these can become cancerous, that you return in 3 years. Now, I also, and this is what I do, I did have one colonoscopy, and then now I just do the Cologuard. The Cologuard checks for genetics or DNA for cancer. And you take some feces and you put it on this little slide board, and it just gets sent off to the lab. And then follow the doctor's instructions. Now, here's the other thing. See how this probe, the endoscope or the colonoscope goes? Because the intestines can be torqued, the doctor has to push this through. And the team, meaning the nurses or technicians or whatever, have to move the belly back and forth and lift up this big belly so they can get through the intestines. Is there a chance of what we call perforation? Absolutely, and I've seen it, and it is not pretty. It is absolutely awful, and it's a medical emergency, and they go right into the operating room. Because when you open up the intestines, then all that fecal matter will go into the into the body. I'm telling you this because it happens and you will have clients. And so I've had one in particular client who was she 89? I think it was 80. She was about 89. They couldn't figure out why she was bleeding. And she had what's called melanin. And she kept bleeding and her blood was dropping, her CBC was dropping, all of her counts were dropping. And they did do a colonoscope. This is one of the first things they do. If they don't see an overt reason for why a patient or a client is bleeding, they will go in for a colonoscopy to see if the intestines are actually bleeding on the inside. Many times there's nothing. The intestines come out nice and clean, which is great. However, this particular client, I visited in the hospital. I think I've said this to you before. Go visit your clients in the hospital. Be their advocates. Many of them want you there, including their family members. This particular one had severe pain in her left lower quadrant. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. What did you just have done? And she couldn't talk. She couldn't remember. And so I asked the family members, I don't know, they went up her butt. That's what they said. And I said, oh, well, that makes sense. And what they had to do was move her belly back and forth so they could actually advance the colonoscope. And I said, you have pain there. The doctors need to check to make sure you don't have an injury. Knock on wood, she didn't have an injury, but they still couldn't figure out why she was bleeding. And they didn't do anything more for her because that was a diagnostic procedure and it was negative. She came back to me. I put her on blood build herbals. Her blood count went up. It was natural medicine. And the doctors couldn't believe how things were happening. And they said, please keep doing what you were doing to the patient. So I have to tell you this because many clients will go and get their colonoscopies. And especially if those who have not really what I say poor diets, but those that aren't eating high fiber diets. Okay, and I do recommend it for at least your first time. Just because I've seen some very sad cases. We had a Russian come in and she came to visit family and they couldn't understand why mom was so sick. Well, we found out. I was the one that had to examine her and I had to lift up her clothes and I got this horrible waft of what we call necrosis or dead tissue. And I pulled the doctor in right away. And it was so unfortunate because the colonoscope did not advance. It kept coming out of her vagina. So it kept turning this direction. So we stopped the procedure. It was really sad, you guys. And we gave the daughter information on what was happening and we couldn't save her. The cancer was so advanced. But for those of us who do eat well, for those of us who take good care of us, take good care of ourselves, doesn't mean we're going to develop cancer. This is also part of prevention. It's also part of understanding what it looks like on the inside because we can't see from the outside. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in most cases, I do recommend this because we can't see polyps and we can't see other things that are happening in here. That's why I recommend it. So moving on from there. Any questions?
Blood field and herbs.
Yeah, so it's a combination and it's all Chinese medicine and I can't pronounce the words. It's building earth is what, yeah.
So you're saying that everyone should.
At
have a
the
colon-
age,
Well, Chris was asking
no,
if-
no, not everyone.
Oh, okay.
No, not by their age.
But I mean, like, okay, so for example, when I was at Regis, they didn't recommend a colonoscopy, they just did Cologuard.
Okay, okay.
Is that fair enough? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
is
fair.
that-
No, you follow your doctor's orders.
That would pick up polyps and everything else like that?
No, what it does, Cologuard identifies if there is DNA related to cancer.
Okay.
That's it. It does not, you can't see polyps. You cannot see what the tissue itself looks like. You have to go in there to actually visualize it. So remember that this is limited because it only goes to the large intestine. If it goes to, if there are more problems, say somebody has irritable bowel syndrome or disease or, you know, whatever you want to call it, they take a capsule. So you swallow a capsule with a camera on it. And that camera, as soon as it enters the mouth, the technician, the nurse, whoever, pushes the start button and it'll start taking pictures. I forget how many a second, all the way down, all the way through here, the digestive tract. It doesn't go through the, it's just the mechanical portion. And it'll go all the way down, snapping these pictures all the way through the small intestine until it reaches the large intestine, and then you poop it out. And then we upload the pictures, and the doctor will analyze through the mouth, you know, every little facet of those pictures. And this capsule is actually spinning and taking a myriad of pictures all the way down. It's pretty cool.
Can you elect for that over the scope?
There's a difference. This just,
One just does the large
you know,
intestine, right? And the other one does the full digestive system.
I suppose you could. You'd have to talk with your doctor. Yeah. And here's the other thing. If you don't clear out or if you don't evacuate well, the procedure is a failure because you have poop in the way, right?
And they can't see it.
And they can't see, right, they can't see the tissue. And especially if you're at high risk or if you've had other procedures on your gut, that can be traumatic as well. I talk about this because this is reality. And you have to understand that your clients do go through this. I have a client right now I'm working with. She is I want to say 70 something, and she just recently was diagnosed with lymphoma last year, and now she had her large intestine, I want to say, oh gosh, I think it was her part of her transverse and her descending colon was removed. And that poor woman, you know, every 5 minutes she was running to my bathroom, so we couldn't have a complete appointment with her because she was, I had to pause the medicine way. I had to pause this because, you know, she felt so bad. So we're still working on that. And a lot of times the food that you have them eat doesn't get absorbed because remember, the large intestine is about water and she's having diarrhea all the time. So it's better that she has that issue than the bag, than the colostomy bag, because that introduces more infection. And so, you know, she's having, it's certainly a challenge, and we're dealing with several things all at once. Okay, so I'm going to stop this. Stop that. And now let's go to lower that. Let's go to chapter 6. Any further questions, you guys? Oh, I think I needed to talk about the Candida test that I sent you. Let's do that. Here, let's open this. And let's share this. This one here is information on the American Cancer Society. So you have self-study hours. You can read through all of this. This gives you a lot of information. I just pulled this up for you, so it should be pretty fresh. Information on staging and questions to ask. You can also call them if you want. I'll just run through this really quick. Start regular screening at age 45. They dropped it from 50. And unfortunately, 1 in 3 people in the United States who should get tested for colorectal cancer have been screened. So it still happens. And I know a lot of people are doing what they can and, to stay as healthy as possible. So people over the age of 85 should no longer get colorectal screening. Okay, so read through that. Okay. Countdown is on. Okay, so we got that one. And then I had some stats for you. Wait, was this the same one? Oh, and then it explains. Okay, so we'll go past that. You guys can look at those 2 handouts. Okay, let's do, sorry, I'm hoping I'm not giving you seizures. Okay, here's the Candida test. Everybody asks, well, if you have Candida, what can you do about it? And you can when you see it in the medicine way, it seems to be a pretty good way of finding it out, but you don't have to use the medicine way. Here is just another example of what we used to do to test. So in the evening, put a clear glass of water by your bed. First thing in the morning, briefly rinse your mouth, swallow, then gather some saliva in your mouth and spit into the glass of water. So the water has to be in the glass. Okay, then gather some saliva in your mouth and spit into the glass of water. Be sure to spit out saliva, not mucus. So if you're drainage and all of that, don't spit that into the glass, just saliva. So keep an eye on the water for about a half an hour, especially the first few minutes. If you have Candida overgrowth, you will see 1 or more of the following, and it is super cool. You'll see strings hanging down from the saliva, just like this. And you could also see heavy looking saliva at the bottom of the glass. It's going to look cloudy. The water is going to look really cloudy. And it will kind of look mucusy, but just be sure not to mix that mucus in the water with, that like postnasal drip kind of thing. You can also see cloudy specks suspended in the water. If within 3 minutes after spitting into the water, you see strings hanging down, cloudy specks showing up in the water, or debris sinking to the bottom, you most likely have an extensive overgrowth, which will require more Candida fighting action on your part. It takes longer. If it takes longer than a few minutes for anything to show up, the Candida is not as serious. If the saliva just floats on top and the water stays perfectly clear, you most likely don't have Candida overgrowth. Take that home and see if it works. Especially those who eat lots and lots of sugars. And it doesn't have to be candy. It can be alcohol, right? Can be a lot of carbohydrates. What are we doing? We're going to start chapter 6 at least.
If somebody thinks they have a yeast infection, I'm assuming this test would still work.
It should, yeah,
Because I'm assuming it's systemic and not just in one area.
right, right. Let's see, do this. Oh, your eyes are going to get kind of dizzy here. Bear with me. Let's see if I can get, okay, close your eyes. Don't get seizures on me. How do I can't get to, oh, here we go. Just want to slide. Dang it. Don't look, don't look. I have to figure out another way. I know, I get it. I think it's 191, and it won't let me hold down either. Quick review.
Right?
Almost there.
Whether it's well brought in.
Okay, we made it. Nutrition and physiology. Oh. It's gonna pop up once in a while. I've tried to stop it. Let's see, where is it? Huh, it's not on my screen. Is that on first? Let me check Nan's screen. It's probably my screen. Let's see. It's not showing up. Another technical thing. Let's do, I have that little, I don't even use it. Let's go into PowerPoint. No, because, oh, maybe if I just go on there. Nope, it didn't.
What you could try to do is right click down on the bar.
There's no bar.
Okay, get to where I can see the bar. It's not down there.
Okay, let me just come out of here.
Yeah, okay, maybe it'll show the bar down. Yeah, okay. Right click on your bar, go to Task Manager. See if the McAfee is up in this list. Anywhere. See it. That's all 0%. I don't see it up in there.
I think it's something in the settings. They got something on them.
There's that too.
Yeah, there's a McAfee.
Unless I go to NANS. Can I switch and just use NANS?
I don't know. Let's see. So you don't see it on here.
Oh,
It's just
where's
on
that?
here. Okay.
Does processor. Does this? Well, it's not even showing up. It's not showing up. Okay. Well, then you can't delete it. It's not showing up. All right. Can we switch to names? Just move the cord to hers. Try it. You want to do that? Yeah, let's try it. Is it on the side? Yep. Let's just. It was like 2 monitors. And the monitor is. Oh, it's gonna work. Yeah, it's gonna work. Okay, that one is open. No, it's good. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
You're welcome. Let's see if it centers okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see.
But the thing of it is on these fitness programs.
Okay, all right, we are resuming. This is good. Okay. Natural medicine, nutrition, and physiology. Is that up there now? Okay, we don't want this one, do we?
I think just forward over to the side.
I'm gonna have to. Okay, I'm gonna multitask, 2 hands. So physical signs, I also gave you the physical signs, more physical signs to look at in some of those handouts. Always look at their hair, dry, dyspigmented, and brittle. So dyspigmented has to do with, have you ever seen people, and I forget the name of it, have you ever seen people with like a white stripe? Yeah, that's not pigmented. And that is a genetic manifestation. Facial skin, look at seborrhea, erythema, folliculitis, look at all of their skin. In general, dryness, scaling, cracked, hyperpigmentation, acne, redness of palms, brittle nails, flaking. Eyes, edema of lids, also an allergy sign. Mouth, you can get ulcers. Tongue, you can get what we call fissures or the big lines, especially down the center where the digestive sign is, erosions and more ulcers. Trying to figure out which way to go. 990, 93. There are two types of nutrient deficiencies. One is a primary nutrient deficiency occurs when a person fails to secure enough of a particular nutrient in their diet. That handout that I just gave you is speaking to that. So they're not getting the foods that would give them enough. Cheryl mentioned, what about sodium? Enough of those. I'm not sure what this is. Can't share content. Are we good?
Yeah.
Can you see? Okay. Everybody online, can you see?
Being recorded, right?
Yes, which
Okay.
one? The definition of a nutrient deficiency?
Yes, yes, good.
And
Okay.
you?
Okay, good. Thank you. We just have this sign up here about stop sharing screen, so I'm not quite sure. And then a secondary nutrient deficiency occurs when the body fails to properly absorb or utilize a nutrient. So when Cheryl asked the question about sodium, people eat a lot of foods with sodium. Is the sodium actually being absorbed? And my guess is, an educated guess is that it's not properly being absorbed, especially if they're eating a lot of the nutrient, what is the opposite? Not dense, undense foods. They just won't get the absorption of those foods. And we already talked about mechanical and chemical. So it's going to be important that they have those foods that are on the back of your list. There we go. Nutrient reserves, 5 stages of progression in nutrient deficiency. Nutrient reserves in the body are depleted. There is a depletion of the nutrient from the body's tissues. And then depletion causes biochemical changes, which can be detected in the blood or their urine. And then depletion causes functional changes, which are manifested as symptoms: fatigue, gas, distress, lack of concentration. And then the depletion causes anatomical changes such as skin, skeleton, tissue, tongue, and other parts of the body. So when you're looking at your clients, they're coming to you after going through so many different changes. Their body has already gone through 1, 2, and 3, and then they're starting to feel this pain. So this is going to be important for you as a clinician to understand that that person didn't get here yesterday. It's taken a long time for them to develop their changes or their complaints. Her Nan's mouse is quite sensitive. Look at their teeth. We already discussed that. Look at their gums, marginal redness, swelling, and bleeding. You'll see a lot of that in people who have lupus. Thyroid, do they have this swelling right around their throat? It can be a toxic diffuse or toxic nodular goiters. We did talk about the parotid glands. Don't forget to get that checked from your dentist. They can have neuromuscular challenges, the calf tenderness, often a calcium deficiency, loss of ankle or knee jerks, burning feet, motor weakness, paralysis, vibratory sense lost, and position sense lost. And they could have tetany. Tetany is where the muscles are just contracted and they'll get cramps in the legs. Look for any swelling. That's what edema is. Look for an enlarged liver right underneath their rib cage. You can look at a belly from the side and see how well it's defined. When it's really, really defined, either they're super constipated or they have liver issues. They can also have pancreatic issues. But look at alcoholics. Look at that gut that just looks so well defined. Skeletal, their posture. As we get older, a lot of people end up just bending over. So there are terms for that. Kyphosis and all of that, but you don't have to learn those terms. So the posture is super important, especially when they're not getting enough nutrition or they're older. Look at their knees. If their knees are knocked kneed, genu valgum, that is also a sign of insecurity. They don't have a whole lot of confidence. And it's also the way they sat when they were children. So their knees would be out. I don't even know what the position is called, but they would sit with their knees on the ground and their feet lateral, almost like a seal, how they have their hands out like this. Don't let your children sit like that. Have them sit like this or cross-legged like this. It's easier on the hips as well. Do they have enlarged wrists? Do they have winged scapulas? So sometimes they will have an uneven rib cage, and one of the scapula will actually penetrate through their back, and you can see how it's defined. Abnormalities of the sternum. They can have like this the xiphoid process can actually pooch out like this. Or they can have the sternum sticking out this direction too, and then curved. Just be very conscientious, be very aware, especially when they walk into your office, get a quick look at how they walk, and not just by their voice, and listen to their voice, but watch them walk. Do they have balance? Okay, the cell membrane. The cell membrane is the brain of the human cell, not the DNA or the nucleus. So you do have to read the biology of belief. I didn't recommend that. Dr. Sullivan is recommending it. I didn't read it. I don't know what to say. But if you can find that book, certainly look it up. The cell membrane also consists of a thin layer of phospholipids, so phosphorus and fats and cholesterol, in which proteins are embedded into that layer. Too sensitive. There we go. Touch this, maybe that will work. So it has the following functions. It receives chemical signals which help to regulate its activity. It has binding sites on its outer surface that allow the attachment of hormones and other chemical messengers. And it allows certain substances into the cell and releases waste products from the cell. So those arrows don't work. Each cell in the body has a magnetic field. Moreover, a healthy cell operates at 25 millivolts. And this reminds me, did you guys get Dr. Tennant's cell voltage? Okay, good. Okay. Components of the cell are susceptible to free radical damage, right? Loss of electrons, which can result in disease. And the nucleus of the cell is positive and the membrane is negative. So metabolism is governed by the proper balance of these two charges. Very simple. At least that's how we read it, right? And the pH of the cell is identical to its voltage. For example, a pH, so this is going to be a good reminder for you, 7.3 equals 25 millivolts. 7.3 is a base, so it's alkaline. And then a cancer cell has a mini voltage of 35 millivolts, and its corresponding pH is 6.5, which is very acidic. I'm going to touch on this. I've had, I may have mentioned this actually, last class. I have 3 cancer patients since, see, we're in May, April, and March. I acquired 3 of them all at once, and I did the cell pH for each one of them. The one who was the most acidic is the one that doesn't want to do anything more. I can't get her to return my texts. I can't get her to return any of my emails. And she just recently canceled her next appointment because she's too busy. If we're too busy for taking care of ourselves, are we going to be too busy? You know how that goes. And she has stage 4 breast cancer.
Oh.
I have done the absolute best that I can. I showed her where her pH level was at the time that she came to see me, and it was 5 points above the -30. And you just have to let go. Just you do what you can do. You give the best advice as you can, and then I know she's in good care. I know that she is working with her providers, and you never take it personally. They have their own journey. But I was sort of sad when I saw at least her pH level. It was not good. Thus, nutrition is very important to cellular function. Certain foods create an acidic pH and others create an alkaline pH. For every pH, there is a corresponding cellular voltage. So there you go. I hope you guys have this book. It is used as a resource book. Don't read it front to back. It's really hard.
Everybody read the book? Healing is Voltage.
Healing is Voltage, that really thick. Okay, good.
I think I have it, but what's it, what is that?
I know, right? Foods high in this nutrient, cod liver oil. My mother used to say to me, my mom used to give us cod liver all the time as we were kids. And they never do that today. But they always had good bowel movements, they had high vitamin D levels, and they were never sick. Sweet potatoes, butter. I'm not sure where we're going with this, and I looked this over, but this is why I gave you the handout to help you. And by the way, I did talk with Dr. Meredith in regards to updating all of these slides because I was told originally not to. So hopefully I can update some of these slides the next go around. So nonetheless,
Something to.
no, follow the list that I had given you. Herbs, these are great for digestion as well. So uses of nutrients in the body, how does it promote skin? How does it promote your hair? Make them healthy. All of these, mouth and all membranes of the digestive tract, urogenital tract. So what herbs are good for each system? So clinical uses of nutrients, increased blood platelets, prevention of senility. That's an old term, but we still use it. Ulcerative colitis, cancer, candida, obstruction in bile ducts, stone formation. I gave you some herbs for that. Other considerations. Individuals who show a deficiency in vitamin A are also to be checked for acidophilus levels and yeast problems, since unhealthy flora in the colon prohibit the conversion of carotene to vitamin A. So this is the other reason why you want to make sure that your clients are taking digestive enzymes plus probiotics. Individuals who have diabetes mellitus or hyperthyroidism cannot store vitamin A. So they have to have an additional amount of vitamin A. I would also recommend, though, making sure that they don't become toxic with it. check to see if their skin is orange, and making sure that their diabetes isn't, or their blood sugars aren't changed. You know, if they go up too high, especially with all the different kinds of supplements out there, that their blood sugar isn't affected by it. Vitamin A is helpful in lowering cholesterol levels and strengthening immunity. And of course, good health begins with good digestion. So when digestion is weak, fewer nutrients will be absorbed. In the stomach. So even though we went through a lot of that diagram, or all of that diagram today, I've been asked to just repeat this. So you'll have all of your resources together. Its main role in the stomach is to produce the gastric juice, which destroys bacteria and other microorganisms found in food. Separate vitamin B12 from food, separate, I should say, from food and combine it with intrinsic factors. So take your vitamin B12 on an empty stomach. B12 is naturally made in the gut. If it's too high, stop taking extra supplements. But if it's too high and you're not taking supplements, that is cause for concern, because it can lead to all kinds of different, like cancers, can be like leukemia, can be other issues with the blood. Release minerals from food. Prepare protein for digestion by the pancreatic enzymes. So that's part of what the stomach does. Hydrochloric acid deficiency is common. So what are the symptoms? Bloating, belching, or burning, heartburn immediately after meals. And Tracy, that brings to mind your mother-in-law probably is deficient in hydrochloric acid. A feeling that food just sits in the stomach. An inability to eat more than a small amount of food without feeling ill. And a lot of people who have had that gastric bypass feel this. Even those on Ozempic feel this, the inability to eat more. All of a sudden, everything is cut off. What is it, the leptin? I forget the hormone. I think it's, I forget the hormone. Anyways,
The hormone that
isn't it the hunger?
Society.
Yeah, that's the one that makes you just all of a sudden you're done. Put your fork down, you put your spoon down, you're done. And then a sign is a tender acid reflux point. This has to do with the Chapman reflex chart that you guys got in your, is it WhatsApp that you guys have? Okay, treatment for hypochlorhydria. So lack of or low levels of hydrochloric acid. Avoidance of overeating. When you're done, you're done. Use of vitamin A, because that will help to absorb. Sipping ginger tea. I love ginger tea, especially on a cold evening. Or adding ginger to the meal. That helps with nausea. Intake of some hydrochloric pepsin or betaine if the above measures are not effective. And a deficiency of hydrochloric acid is normal in all forms of degenerative diseases. So if you see arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, or if you see somebody who, an older person who hunches over, their stomach is pushed up into their chest area. They're not, and as we age, they're just not going to have the production of those juices. Stress and tension can inhibit the production of hydrochloric acid. The taking of antacid tablets can actually be harmful. Why? Because that calcium in there is more related to lime. The lime absorbs the acid in there, but then your body becomes dependent on it. A lot of alcoholics
have this burning sensation in their gut and they run to get some Tums. Let's see. As most people are suffering from too little acid and not too much. And this is very true, but what did they grab? That purple pill. The pancreatic hypofunctioning is often the result of hypochlorhydria. So the pancreas also does produce juices or digestive juices. So even though you have a type 1 diabetic, type 2 diabetic, their pancreas should still be able to produce digestive enzymes. So you would still want to supplement them. Same with type 1 diabetics. Their pancreas really doesn't function and give them digestive enzymes. Pancreatic insufficiency is linked to the development of food intolerance and leaky gut syndrome. So the sign is the right thenar pad reflex area of tenderness. And that, I want to show you, let's see here. I'm just bringing up my screen. Maybe it will work. Okay, so the thenar pad reflex area is right here. So here's your thumb, and it's this pad. So you can press on it, and if it's tender, it's very possible you have some deficiency in hydrochloric acid. You can take it with your thumb and hold it like this. That's one sign. Do you have a question?
So this is linked to hydrochloric acid, not pancreatic enzymes.
Right, hypochlorhydria, as the result of hypochlorhydria. Okay. Between meals, so this is the gallbladder now, between meals, the liver produces bile, which is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Right, so the gallbladder is just a reservoir, but it's extremely important for our digestion. After a meal, the gallbladder will contract, so it's going to get that peristaltic movement and expels bile into the duodenum. So if there is a positive sign, the Murphy sign reflex area, and there could be some tenderness. So you palpate the right, this is on that Chapman's reflex, so it's right underneath the rib cage, the right side here. And you can have the person laying down, or you can have them, whichever is comfortable for them. But if they're sitting up, their belly is going to be protruding, right? Even if they're thin, it can still protrude, but you might have a little bit better access. It's right underneath the rib cage, and you can just touch it just enough until you feel some tenderness, or you may have to palpate even a little deeper, but it's right underneath that rib cage. The way it'll be on the right side. So this is the way you do it. So you want them to inhale. Don't push down yet. And then have them exhale. And then place your fingers right underneath that area. So here's the xiphoid process, and you go right by the xiphoid process. Don't touch the xiphoid process. Just go below it. And then place your fingers right underneath it. It doesn't hurt me, so I guess I'm. And then you're going to push, and then have them inhale. Wait, I already said that. Sorry, I meant to say exhale. Okay, and see if they have any pain. And then during that inspiration, hold on just a second here. During that inspiration, you should be able to move some of, if they have a gallbladder, you should be able to move that bile out and have it pass into the rest of their gut, okay? If the patient stops breathing, they'll go like this. They'll catch that pain. It's possible they could have gallstones. Like that. Oh, like, oh. Okay. That's the Murphy sign. So the three main functions of bile, it's to emulsify fat, to destroy harmful bacteria and parasites in the small intestine. So if you don't have a gallbladder, you could potentially have that harmful bacteria and parasites. And then to act as a vehicle for waste matter, excess estrogen and toxins produced by the liver, carrying them into the intestines to be evacuated by the stools. Okay, the small intestine is an organ of digestion and absorption, and is primarily represented by the integrity of the mucosal cells which line the villi, and they absorb nutrients from the intestinal lumen. So the hole, you see there, that's called the lumen. Same with the blood vessels, it's the lumen, it's the hole there. They absorb nutrients from the intestinal lumen into the blood, and they also produce important digestive enzymes. I'm going to go until our time, 5 o'clock, so we got about 4 minutes, and then we'll just resume. Small intestine dysfunction. So zinc and folic acid deficiencies in the diet, in the diet can adversely affect the gut mucosa. An intestinal disease occurs when chronic inflammation due to a gluten allergy wears away the mucosal layer. So again, the Chapman's reflex small intestine area can be tender. So if you look at the Chapman reflex pictures, you can test, or you can just observe the umbilical area. So right where the belly button is, you can look at the different angles in the direction of the belly button. Dr. Sullivan has a poster up here. I highly recommend you getting one because I do examine my clients, and you may want to do the same thing, especially if they complain of gut problems. And it shows a human body where the hydrochloric acid testing point is, where the digestive enzyme deficiency is located, and then it includes belly button and the different points of the direction of the belly button. It's actually a really nice poster. You'll have to ask Nan for it. If somebody wants to take a picture. Oh, you did it in auricular?
Did that in auricular.
Okay, well, this is just good reinforcement. So if you want to take a picture and send it off to to everybody, you can do that too. But you can also palpate. Palpate means to touch lightly and feel around the small intestine. And you obviously want to do it lightly to see where their pain is. Okay, the colon, the large intestine needs dietary fiber to absorb water and help in its peristaltic function, as well as healthy pH and a good balance of bacteria. And then again, another Chapman reflex sign is the colon reflex point. Has anybody ever tried to do a test with someone who may have an appendicitis?
Yeah.
You've done it? Can you explain, Betsy?
It is, well, we used a couple of them because we would check with children. If you touch it, rebound tenderness, if you press down where it is and then it come back up, the pain comes after you pull away. Also, we would have them, if they were weird about us touching them, we would have them jump on their right leg and they won't be able to do it
Because of the pain.
the pain is too much. Yeah.
Okay, did everybody hear that? So when you touch down where the appendix is located, you don't want to push down too hard because we don't know if they have an appendicitis. And if you let go, that pain is called rebound pain. So it's on letting go causes the pain. And it's a positive sign. And it can be very, very dangerous.
McBurney.
Say it again.
It is, I think it's a McBurney sign.
McBurney, I think so. I think you're right. Okay, let's see. Okay, they could also have enzyme deficiencies, and they could, have problems with digestion, lack of energy, flatulence, toxic condition, tenderness at the enzyme reflex point. That's on the left side, underneath the rib cage. Take a look at that Chapman reflex. These two, the hydrochloric acid one and the digestive enzyme, are the two that I use the most because I work so much with digestive enzymes. And I will even have them do it on themselves. The clients do it on themselves because then they realize once the pain decreases, because they're taking the enzymes, that the enzymes are working for them. That's another way to help your clients see the results. Okay. Okay, so foods high in enzyme, fresh raw foods, sprouted grains and seeds, papaya, of course, because that has a lot of digestion enzymes, and pineapple. I've run into people who are allergic to fresh pineapple. If it's canned, that's a different story. But fresh pineapple, they cannot eat it. And I can't figure out, and I've asked them, does it have to do with any pesticides or any spraying? And they said, no, I could get the freshest pineapple and they're highly allergic to it. Like, well, everybody's different.
Can I add something to that?
Yes. Who's that? I don't have your name up.
Lauren.
Oh, it's Lauren.
Lauren. I was reading about pineapple the other day, and there is, I think it's like calcium oxalate crystals in it. Which also, like, those happen, they're in a lot of plants too. So like if there's toxic plants, they also have that in it. But in pineapple, it's like at such a low amount, you're able to eat it. But if it's not fresh, it has like high amounts of it. So it can be like more toxic and like you could have like more reaction to it. But if it's ripe, generally there's less of that.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it tells you when you should be eating it, essentially. But I wonder if that's why. I don't know.
That's a good point. I know we have to be careful with those who have kidney failure or have kidney problems because stones can be developed from that too. That's a great thought process. Okay, so we will stop here. Slide 219. And you know how it is. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions, if you have concerns, any thoughts, anything. Send me a text, send me an email. Happy to get you going further. You guys are, I'm hoping, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And in a good way, not in a bad way. All right, you guys, it was great seeing you again. Take care. You're welcome.
I feel like we reached the top of the hill and now we're going.
It's gonna go fast.
Did you guys have any special day?
Because you are the host now.